You might enjoy that better.
Christian women who habitually deny their husbands sexual satisfaction are inadvertently fueling the rise of adult content platforms like OnlyFans and indirectly supporting the porn industry itself. Congratulations, ladies. Consider this, that a striking 76% of Christian men admit to struggling to pornography addiction, and notably, most of these men are married. The statistic underscores a clear reality. Many Christian men are not receiving the sexual satisfaction and enthusiasm they need from their wives, prompting them to turn towards other outlets like porn. In their view, pornography becomes the lesser evil compared to an outright adultery. Thus, if women genuinely desired a reduction in pornography's influence and availability, the solution isn't shaming men for watching it. Instead, accountability must fall squarely upon the wives who withhold intimacy or offer it begrudgingly. By denying their husbands sexual fulfillment, these wives inadvertently push men towards the very content they claim to despise. Now, women may want to defend themselves by insisting, I never deny him explicitly. Yeah, okay. However, many fail to acknowledge that neglecting to take care of yourself physically, yeah, I'm talking about your appearance, and allowing yourself to become unattractive is in itself a passive form of denial. It's unreasonable for a wife to let herself deteriorate physically. Essentially, what she's doing, she is serving her husband a downgrade, going from a gourmet meal to a frozen TV dinner, and still expect him to have this enthusiastic engagement. This disregard for personal appearance isn't just about vanity. It represents a deep-seated lack of respect for her husband. Maintaining one's attractiveness is part of the marital covenant, a visible sign of respect and care. A wife who intentionally or carelessly lets herself go places her husband in an unfair and difficult position, continually exposed to the allure of women who do prioritize their appearance and health. Men, therefore, shouldn't bear the entire blame for their diminished attraction or resorting to external temptations under these conditions. Instead, Christian women must take responsibility for nurturing their marriages, which include actively maintaining their health, beauty, and sexual enthusiasm to protect their husband from unnecessary temptation. The reality is that when women don't want to hear this part, is that they don't want to have to hold any responsibility. They love to blame their husbands for what their husband is doing wrong, according to them, but never want to talk about what led to them doing those things. So listen, Christian ladies, stop being fat, get in shape, and go fuck your husband.
Glenn Lawrence has been doing God's work.
I know who my God is. Hallelujah.
Now, Ben,
I've seen that before.
Oh.
I would say it has. I think we actually had this conversation. It sounds like you're saying, like, listen, bitches, you're the problem here. Now, I know in actual fact, you're more nuanced about that because you go back and forth. You say men get your act together, women get your act together, men get your act together. And I actually think there is a kind of like a frame that you're accepting here, which is that women more than men don't want, or men want to have sex and women don't want to have sex. But like, hey, bitches, you've got to do this, even though I know you don't want to. I don't really think that's true. I think women have a different kind of sexual drive. So if you say like, if you say like, you in that voice, which I know is not like your complete voice, is like, hey, if a woman goes to you and says like, well, I'm having trouble with all right, and you're the pastor and you go like, go home and spread your legs, lay out on the bed. Okay. Like that's not really how women's sexuality works. Right?
So here's the thing. It's like this. It's like, okay.
A guy might be like, sure, good, fine. But
here's the way I look at it. It's like, okay, he has the responsibility to do these things for you, but you also have a responsibility to provide things to him too. Yeah. And the Bible says not to deny one another.
Sure, I agree.
For agreed time for committing to fasting and prayer. So it's not me telling you. You made a covenant here. You made that's not even a suggestion. That's a command. So,
I agree.
So it's a command that you have to do these things.
Right.
And so it's like,
but there's
it's not
isn't there a
even
question like, why don't you have sexual desire for your husband? Like what went wrong here? It's usually, it could be something like physiological, but
well, see, that's why I always tell guys that they have the responsibility of maintaining that woman's desire.
you know what I think a lot of times it is, Glenn.
Fire.
I don't think you disagree. A lot of, at least my experience with a certain group of women that are like within my family, what they do is they say like, I'm trying to prove you have to prove to me that you love me for who I really am. So I'm going to deny you the things that, you know, are gifts to you. And then eventually I'll, you know, this is like daddy issues, right? Like I wasn't loved by my daddy, or I hate my daddy. So you got to prove that you're the daddy, that you show me unconditional love. So when I get fat, you got to get your dick hard. Now, that's stupid because that's not what marriage is. But for a lot of women, that's what it is. You know, you are going to be the one who takes my mess and says, I fucking love it. Do you know that Alanis Morissette song? She goes, what's that? How's that song go? You're finally the one who accepts all my mess. You know what I mean? You dig it. You are everything. You think I'm everything.
You've already won me over.
You
That
da
one?
da da da. You da da my mind, and then all my dark, right? You love everything, all
Of
my
which I'm
fucking
ashamed.
shit,
Yeah,
right? Basically, and you get how a woman says that. If she says like, my daddy didn't love me, or my mother usually told me that. I want someone who shows me unconditional love. Now, of course, it's stupid to say like, okay, I'm going to get my fat, I'm going to be a bitch, I'm going to be annoying, so you can prove this. But like, I do think that's what's going on a lot of times in these. I mean, that's an extreme case. It's not that she doesn't know that he would love to have passionate sex with her. She's just saying.
Well, here's the thing. We all know that the only things that people unconditionally love are puppies and children. Okay. There's no unconditional love in relationship. There's always conditions.
I agree. It's conditional, right? A woman should be told, instead of these Disney bullshit. No. You have obligations on your side, but there is an like for Catholics, if it's a true marriage, there is a kind of unconditionality, for better or worse, for, you know,
toleration. You guys have unconditional toleration. You got to tolerate all of it, but not unconditional love. You just got to be married for the fact that you guys are not allowed to divorce.
That's just being obedient to the system that they've chosen.
Yeah.
That they've chosen to join.
That's not because you love them.
That's
doing
not
this because
real, emotional, deep, unconditional.
No, you do have to love, like care for them and pray for them and
do.
want them to do well. Of course.
Glenn,
your children, too,
You
even
were
if they're
saying in
assholes.
that clip. Great, Glenn. I would agree with what you were saying in that clip about the upkeep of appearance and things like that. But I mean, you know as well as I do that enthusiasm cannot be commanded. It cannot be promised. It cannot be. Yeah, it's because enthusiasm is a reaction. Now, if the guy's a loser, if he's a dope, if the guy's needy, if he's angry, if he's emotional, if he's controlling, if he's, you know, just has behaviors that are a super fucking turnoff, then, you know, she's not going to be enthusiastically aroused to sleep with him, regardless if he's taking care of his body or doing well at his job or is a good Christian or made the promise of marriage. It doesn't cause a reaction like enthusiastic arousal.
I think most of these,
that's why I've told guys, like, look, you have a responsibility of maintaining that arousal. You can't be mad at her if you don't. If you let the fire go out, it's not her fault that the fire went out. That was your fire to maintain.
Well, it's probably both, Glenn. Wouldn't you say it's probably both of them? Like, you rarely see a guy who's like smart, sharp, funny, with it, successful, with this fat slob who's just doing nothing, right? I mean, usually you see like successful couples.
Those things that you listed do not create arousul.
Like for
those things
for
you
a
just
lot
listed, Ben, don't create arousal.
Like a lot of guys, they work really hard, but maybe they work too hard and they're too tired. So they come home, they put the clicker on. They you know, they don't, you know what I mean? And like, that's just, and maybe she feels like, well, we need you to work that hard so I can stay home with the kids. But it's like it's like neither of their faults.
Like I said, you're always leading.
It's actually both of their faults.
Whether you're putting in effort or not, you're always leading.
It's either of their fault. It's both of their faults.
Yeah,
They're
and to be
both
honest,
blaming.
Glenn, I see these fucking people, and I think they both want to be miserable. He wants to complain to his buddy, and there's a lot of what happens on the red sphere. They just want to complain, and they go back to the same exact fucking thing. They're not going to do shit to change anything. And same with the women. They complain, he lays around and da-da-da. And they're both right.
I would say
It
about
begins and ends
50%
with
of
the men.
people out of 100, it's like if I had 100 guys, 15 guys will actually take what I'm saying and start applying it. Now, out of those 15 guys, maybe only 2 or 3 of them will actually see it all the way through.
Yeah, the consistency part. Yep.
Yeah.
And make it part of their life.
Well,
Yes.
I can tell you when you're in the midst of something. I literally went when I thought I got married, right? I literally went, and this is a Catholic school, boys' Catholic school. You think it'd be masculine guys? They were all. I sat there with a sandwich once, and I was like, why does she make me? It was like tuna, and I was like, I don't like tuna, and they're like, Brody, and I was like, what? They're like, oh no, don't ever tell her that. And I was like, I can't tell her that I prefer peanut butter and jelly to tuna. They're like, this guy, right? And so they're all fucking totally like that. And I was like, dude, if you can't tell your wife you prefer a peanut butter sandwich to a tuna fish sandwich, you don't have a marriage. And they're like, yeah, you'll find out. Real like cute
So
kid.
did you?
Yeah, I did. And I eventually said, like, and I don't like these other things. And I went to jail. It sucks. It's hard. If you have, I went to jail. I had a restraining order against me. I had all the wealth I'd accumulated taken from me. You name it. Okay, so, but and at various points I was like, oh shit, I guess I should have just said, yeah, I love the tuna fish, right? You know, because they were right in the sense, like they're like. Basically, they're like, N-word, you have no idea what you're fucking with. If you just start with one of these things, you're fucking with a monster, right? Because all their wives were monsters. So they're like, these guys are currently, you know, they play golf, they get away from their wives or whatever, and they're happy that, like, in the end, if she's pissed, like, okay. And I'm not. Look at me, living in a fucking RV.
They're not happy.
I've got $100.
House is lying on a foundation.
No,
that
I
could
know.
crumble at any
I
moment.
agree with you, but in a certain sense, like they were right to
No.
say, like, if you start, if you start in the middle, right? And here I could agree with
Then why
Mr.
are you
Justin.
fighting this guy because he wants to do it in the beginning?
Yeah, but I think the
No,
I'm,
no.
okay,
I'm over this. I'm over this roundabout way.
I could
Because
put-
here's the thing.
no.
No. I'm gonna go. There's no longer sweet on tea. This is just on tea. There's no sweetness here.
Sure.
Here's the deal. You need to understand that by going through what you went through and seeing what these men go through, these foundations that are no longer able to be applied because they've been already laid
Yeah.
in a different area, now it's hard to fix. But if you lay that foundation from the get-go,
Right.
then it's not. It's easy to maintain.
No, but my only difference is everything Justin is saying. I wish I had known. I wish I had a friend like him who said, like, look for these kind of things. But I wouldn't say that I should train.
Things.
I wouldn't say, like, all the red flags.
I said do these kind of things.
All the red, yeah. So okay, so like right, so that's the difference, sweet auntie. I'm saying all those red flags are useful, and I tell my sons, like, you know, watch out for these red flags. That's different than saying you can create green flags from red flags through the system of training. I don't think so, but he's not wrong in what his end is. I just think that's a dad's job and not a boyfriend or husband's job. That's our only difference, really.
Would you say that making an assumption about what sandwiches you like a red flag?
No.
Oh, the what? You mean her? Like her? Yeah, she didn't get to know me enough to know, like, what sandwiches I like. Yeah.
Would you?
She should have known
Just
that.
would you say is
Bitch.
that yes or no? Is it yes? It was a yes or no
Say
question.
it again.
Your daughter was smart enough to say yes or no.
Say it again.
Thanks.
Is it an assumption? Okay, whatever she said.
Is
Yes.
it would
Is
it
it
is it a
yes?
red flag for a woman to assume what kind of sandwiches you like? I said no.
Oh, well, if she's lived with you for a while.
Yeah, okay, but just out the gate if she's getting to know
Yeah, I would
you,
agree,
if-
Grace. No.
Yeah.
It's a red flag for her to continue doing it because on your end, because you haven't laid a boundary of what you like.
Right. So if at
Boundary.
the
It's a
onset,
preference.
early on, when you're
Boundary.
interacting with a woman,
Sandwich
it's
boundary.
still early, you know, number of weeks or something like that, and there's an assumption like that, so that comes up. Let's say a sandwich. She makes you say, oh, she said she drops by early before you go to work, or maybe you've got like the midday shift or something, or night shift, and she's just swings by, gives you some food that she made for you, and she assumes you like tuna fish, and you open it up, you're like, I fucking hate tuna fish. You're agreeing that that would not be a red flag, but you still have to train her on what you do like. They say that's great. I
No more
love
tuna
that you
fish,
assert
man.
yourself, and you say, listen, I love that you made me a sandwich. That's fucking
wait a second.
awesome. love
I
that
want
you
to
made
say
me a
something to
lunch.
Mr. Justin.
However,
I did
don't
your
like tuna
program.
fish.
I did your
say,
program with
I
her.
Can you hold on a second, Ben? Ben, hold on a second, dude.
go ahead, yeah.
You say, look, I love your enthusiasm. I love your angle, but I don't like tuna fish. I like peanut butter and jelly. So the next time you do this, please make me peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
You're training a person how to treat you.
Right, I understand. Listen, this is the point I want to make to you. I actually did your program. I actually said, like, I'm a dominant male, and you're going to do what I said. I actually, like,
You don't
one time.
have to
No, well,
say-
let me
if
give
you
you an
just say it,
example.
you're
Let me
not
give you an
it.
example. Let me give you an example. Okay, this is just a funny example. One time she was doing this thing. Am I the prettiest? Am I the prettiest? I pulled the car over to the side of the road. We were like in a highway. Pulled the car over to the side of the road, took her down to the trees, took my belt off, and kind of like beat her. And I said, there's your fucking answer. Okay? Now, she was turned on by that, right? Because finally someone said, shut the fuck up, bitch, right? And she was 100% red pill. I want to do what you say. I want to, Grace, suck your dick all the time, right? I am like over there. But as soon as they put the ring on, it was a totally different story. That's my point to you is like, yeah, they'll
I think you're completely making up that story for one.
No, it's true. She'll
if you
tell you
did
that
do
story.
I'm sure you did that out of emotion and not out of guidance. I think
no,
you,
I
you
did it
out
to
of
let her know the answer to
frustration.
the question is shut the fuck up.
Yes, right. You're trying. Yes, you're doing. Out
was
of
asserting
frustration.
dominance.
You were asserting out of your emotions.
Yeah.
If that in fact even happened, I don't think you're coming off as genuine.
You're saying I'm lying. Okay, by that she has admitted that was true. Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying.
But I'm saying
your
she
story is
was
false.
she was into a masculine man for a while, and she
But that's
saw me as a
negative
daddy.
masculine trait. You're conflating two.
No,
So
this
the
is-
thing
this is
is there's a way to, and you're right. A woman who actually, you brought this up earlier, and I wanted to contend with this point. A woman who has parental issues or daddy issues or mommy issues is much easier to control in a negative masculine way, like you're describing, which
Yeah.
is with brute force.
No, I
If
mean, I
you're
didn't really
not
beat her. I just
controlling-
want to say I didn't really beat her.
Whoa.
I was just kidding around.
But there's the other way, and it's much harder to train a woman that has issues than
So
a
I was
woman who
true, you were
doesn't.
lying.
Is that a methodical, logical game plan on how we should move on going forward is what he's describing.
What I'm saying is, girls, a girl is it's in many ways you got a red flag here. I love masculinity. I love all the things you're bringing to the table because this is like new to me, right? And I remember even she said the when I fell for you was when we were having a discussion. We were at a Catholic school, and I was like, you shouldn't sleep around. It's wrong for you to do that. And she was like, really? You know, I've never had anyone say that to me. So here I am being the dad, right? Training her and saying to her, like, I've got principles and rules.
Why do you think
That
that's
shit
so much
did not
fun?
help
Yeah.
one bit.
Ben,
Because she
can
eventually
we
resented
acknowledge that I was right and you were lying with your story to try to prove a point that you could not stand on?
No,
So you had to
I'm
make
saying
the
I didn't
point
beat
to say that you were
her.
being like me to prove your point to make it look like the way I do things is bad. And you say, look, I tried what you did and it failed once I got married. But your whole premise was false because you just admitted that you were lying.
No, I never did
Just to
your
make a
stuff
point.
of saying, like,
You said the
master.
story was
That's a-
untrue and that you did not beat her. Can you acknowledge that you were lying?
I hit her with the belt, but I didn't, like,
You just
beat
said
her
that
to
you
a
did
pulp.
not beat her.
I didn't really, like, beat the shit out of her.
Did you
but
beat her with a belt or did
I
you
hit her a
not
few
beat her with
times.
a belt?
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, we're this is
I
live and
sent her
in
to the
public. So were
fucking
you
hospital.
lying?
I'm not crazy.
So Ben, we are live and in public. Were you lying or were you telling the truth that you beat your wife with a belt?
I was telling the truth, but then I clarified that I didn't, like, send her to the
You said you didn't
hospital
beat
or
her.
like beat
You
the
said you
shit
didn't
out of her.
actually beat her. We can rewind the video. You said I didn't actually beat her.
In the sense
So
of
did you
beat the
her
hell
with a
out of
belt,
her,
or
yes.
did you not beat her with a belt?
Like beating her like
Ryan! Oh my God, hi.
Finally, a real liberal.
Ryan!
What's up, guys? I
But
want to
I
show you
think
my
she probably
wiener.
gave her a squat. I mean, Ben has done things on camera before that have got him in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, per se.
Yeah, the whole internet can attest that, like, I will check a bitch.
Nature.
Yeah.
So I want to say I believe Ben. I absolutely believe this story. I think it's true. It sounds like a something he would do. Absolutely, beating his wife. It's pretty in line with what I would understand from him. So
Oh,
I'm not
gently,
shocked to hear
though.
that. And to hear that she was more submissive after that, I also believe that she was probably scared he was going to hit her again. So
No, she loved it. She loved it.
so yeah, I'm sure she did. Ben, yeah, totally.
Somewhat. Ryan, do you agree that somewhat, like Mr. Justin, I'm actually between you and Mr. Justin. Mr. Justin says he has a woman under his mastership or mentorship,
Master-
I didn't say
Sisterhood.
that.
mentorship or something like that.
No, she's just following me. That's
She's
all.
following him. She has been for 6 to 8 weeks. And she, in the morning, he says, "What are you going to do today?" And she tells him, either approves of or tells her what to do. Then she comes to him and says, she doesn't even refer to herself like her own name, but she says, in third
This
person,
girl.
like
This girl.
This
Yeah, she
girl
doesn't refer to
is
herself in first
now
person.
okay. Now I'm saying I think that's crazy. That's a crazy relationship, and that's like treating a woman like a dog. It's just an adult here we're talking about. So
Sure, I agree. We shouldn't treat.
does that
women
seem
like
a little
dogs.
excessive?
I agree.
So I'm in the middle.
I could, but
I'm in the middle.
Yeah, you're like the radical centrist. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm a centrist. Yes. So for example, I have a relationship with Grace. She actually runs everything financially. She has all the power in our setup here. I have no problem with that, but I do in some ways have a sort of guiding role, I think, that she respects. So I would say that's centrist. Yeah. You're on the left. He's on the right, I think.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Now,
I don't know. And to some people, depending on who you ask, I'm in the middle because I know people who are far more extreme than me. Which I would
Leonard
call
Lake.
right
Leonard
or
Lake.
left.
Leonard Lake. Yes.
So it depends.
Serial
so it really
killers
depends on
are
what
more
vantage
extreme than
point.
you.
It really depends on what vantage point you're coming at things because everything can be viewed from middle, left, or right. It
No.
depends on your perspective.
No.
It absolutely does because it's not fixed.
I
Like
mean,
if I let's
yes,
okay,
there
let's
can
say
be
if
more.
I drink alcohol, let's say once a week, okay, to somebody who's an alcoholic, that will be seemed extreme, right? That'll seem extreme to someone who has an addiction to alcohol.
I mean, yes,
or
I
somebody
understand that.
who like rage drinks on the weekend. You know, he's a weekend warrior. The person who abstains is going to say, "Whoa, that's way the fuck out there." Right? But for somebody who says an alcoholic, like, oh, you only rage drink on the weekend? That's like child's play. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the perspective of which
Yes,
you're looking at things.
But if we talk
left,
about
middle,
in
and right.
American culture, your point of view would be on the right. Ryan's point of view would be on the left. Mine, I think, would be center right is where I would usually find myself. Because, and that's just true. But whatever, who cares?
Wait, from the American lens, sure. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. You saying you have a relationship with a female who's not your wife, not even your girlfriend, where you say, I'm going to basically control your life for 6 to 8 weeks.
No, I didn't
I
say
think
I'm
that's
going
borderline
to.
psychotic.
She submitted herself to. I didn't say I'm
Okay,
going
she
to
submitted herself
control.
to.
That is different. Like you agree, there's like
Yeah.
a lot of guys who do like FinDom stuff, right, Ben?
Yeah, that's what I think this is a form of. And I think it's okay, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
super healthy.
There's
I think
there's
some men,
tons
some
of women
women
who like that.
FinDom. Yeah, absolutely.
They love that. They love a polarizing relationship. And polarization is actually what creates friction when it's done positively, and then that keeps arousal, interest, and enthusiasm quite high.
Well, actually, what's interesting is in most BDSM relationships, the sub is actually totally in control because we live in America, so you can't, when they have a safe word, that rules the roost.
And how long have you been in the lifestyle?
I mean, Grace went to a swing club, and
No. How long have you been in the lifestyle?
the lifestyle
Grace.
of
Yes,
people who
BDSM
do this
lifestyle,
kind of
yes.
stuff. I've never been in it and never would be in it because it's totally crazy.
So your views on
it's for
what-
losers.
on how the so your views on how the dynamics.
But if you're doing it for
actually work is
fun,
probably-
okay, if you're doing it for fun on the weekend for a couple of
pretty
hours,
surface.
go ahead. But you're doing it every day, all day. It's crazy, dude.
It sounds like what Ben is saying is that like because we in America we value people's consent in terms of sexuality that that the sub
there's
is,
full consent
by that standard. Like they have the right to say no at a certain point, and by using some sort of safe word and stuff like which
Absolutely.
seems perfectly reasonable to me.
I think what the problem with BDSM relationships, even as play, is like it's people who are excessively concerned about power dynamics, and they think that really their only experience of relationality is with power dynamics. And so I think that's a very that's a shell of what a relationship should be. But some people are into it, and
So in the example that you
thought I was
gave
married to
Ben,
one, actually.
about the guy who, what was it? The sandwich thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. The story you told about the sandwich.
Yeah.
And the guys were okay. So what's happening there is a power dynamic. It's just not talked about.
That's true. I agree with you. Yeah, I do think that
And that goes back to what I was saying before. There's always power dynamics between people when you're in a relationship. Now, the
I
difference
would hope
with
there's a
people who are
lot
in
more
BDSM
to a
lifestyle-
relationship than power dynamics.
No, there's it. I didn't say that's the
know what I
only
mean?
factor. I said it's always there. Stop strawmanning.
I think in a super
power dynamics
healthy
are always going to
marriage
be there.
relationship,
They're
I don't
always
think the power
shifting.
dynamics really show themselves very much. I think it just becomes natural.
They do because there's always decisions to be made. There's always people's preferences. I want to watch this movie. I don't want to watch that movie. I will not argue with
but
her and watch her movie because I don't feel like getting into an argument.
But I think in a healthy
all the
marriage, that's mature, basically that stuff doesn't get like navigated constantly.
Right. Like
it just happens
let's
naturally.
say you like to keep your home fairly cool.
Yeah.
And then the woman's like, "Oh, I'm cold." And then you say, "Okay, let's compromise and I'll put it somewhere in the middle."
Yeah.
And now the heat's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
That is a interplay of power.
But isn't according to you, shouldn't it be whatever the man wants?
It's not leaning one way or the other, but it's coming
Yeah.
to a point where the power concedes.
But wait, but in your mind, shouldn't it be like whatever the guy wants? It's like, bitch, you figure out how to be cooler.
Warmer.
Isn't that what you think, or whatever? Like,
I'm not saying shoulds. I live my relationship how I live it. I'm not telling other guys what they need to do.
well, but okay, but
like,
aren't
it's
you
like a
saying
whole-
asserting
No, but
leadership
that's
is
also the
saying like?
negative lens you're portraying onto his relationship versus the lens.
I honestly
in
think this
which
guy
he has
would do
ultimate
thermostat
say, but
BDSM.
she can also
I honestly think he
advise.
would. I think he'd be like, "It's 75 if you come over here." That's it.
But that's where I think your lens is coming into play. He
Okay.
never made it sound like
No,
she couldn't advise.
he's
and he
actually
wouldn't take
saying-
it into consideration because
he's-
all kings take advisors.
Well, does she have an equal right to advocate for a temperature, or is it
No.
like she has an advisory role?
An advisory role.
Okay, so there's two human beings. One of them says I like it 72. The other one says I like it 67. Now, one, because he's got a dick, can do whatever he wants with the thermostat, and the other one can only say like I would prefer this, but it's up to you. Does that seems crazy to me?
So it's
I
not
don't think
the
anatomy makes the
phallic.
decision.
I think it's not the phallic that gives him that right. It's the logistical and more methodical analogy or
Okay, so
reasoning behind why the end result becomes what it is. So for me, for an example, you women, we think on a more emotional basis and not sometimes do I lay into account other aspects to it besides my emotions, such as the heating bill. And so in this scenario, the factoring in of the heating bill and our cost ability
True.
would be at play more than what my emotions are of
Yeah,
how
but,
I feel.
but
in
he
the
wasn't
moment.
saying it's that his reasoning is based on the heating bill. He's just saying his preference is colder and her preference is warmer.
He actually said
not
what you do is compromise,
however
which I
they-
think is reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, however, I'm just saying, I was explaining that there's always, the whole point was that there's always an interplay of power. By one person saying, I want it this way, and then one other person saying, I want it this way, that is not necessarily a huge struggle, but it's a battling of frames. It's a battle of saying, I like this, and they're not the same. It's
It's a battle of power. So whoever has the most power wins the thermostat war. I don't know what you're talking about.
No. What I'm saying is that whenever there's disagreements, there's always friction. That's what it is. Someone says, I want something this way. The other person says, I want something this way. And either one concedes to the other or they find a compromise.
Okay, so that's how you envision like two people who are just one saying like it's too warm in here, one is too
either
cold.
way
You're
that
like it's a
energy
battle
has
of
to
wills
find an ending point.
and there's friction.
Either way that that point of indecision has to come to a resolution.
Wouldn't
Either
you
it's going to be at 72, 67, or somewhere in the middle.
Wouldn't it make sense that the person wouldn't it make sense usually that some like you use clothing to reach the gap? So you say like, okay, wear a sweater.
Shh, Ryan,
Whoever wants it. Sorry.
That's another way.
Male
for sure.
feminists have no voice here, Ryan.
But I mean, this idea that it's a battle of wills is kind of ridiculous. No, Ryan,
it's
go
not
ahead.
Well, it is a battle of wills.
Well, just the thing is
But
that
it
no
doesn't have
matter
to be
what, a
extreme.
determination. The thing is that a determination needs to be made regardless of people's feelings. And so at the end of the conversation, there will be an outcome. And that outcome can be either reached quickly or it can take a long ass time to figure out.
No, I know it.
And so having a hierarchical system allows you to move through life with much more efficiency than an egalitarian team. That's why people who are like there was those 2 island show where a man and a female island, the women didn't make it very far because they weren't able to create a hierarchical system in which someone would have final say.
Yeah,
that's not taking into account that the other people would have advisory roles to be able to give information. But if you cannot come to a conclusion quickly, it's not effective.
Okay. But
you know what? Hold on. I'm going to exercise my authority of being this my channel, and you're going to be quiet.
Yes, sir.
There you go. That's that dominance right there.
He's
I'm
a total.
I am totally going to go to the gym. I've been on for 10 hours, and you know what? I got shit to do today.
Let's go over to our channel.
We can always do a part 2 later.
Glenn, we're actually live right now. We have the StreamYard panel. If anybody wants to join us, we can just
Ryan,
keep the panel
come over.
going.
This would be really fun. And Mr.
I'll send the invite link. I'll send the invite link.
I'd love to
go over there.
I'll send the invite link in the back chat. Here you go.
It's a really funny conversation,
Glenn.
It's interesting.
Glenn, thanks for having this for so long. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Glenn.
To you, Ryan. I've been wanting to talk to you. I haven't had you on.
Yeah, we'll set something else up another time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna drop the. You guys have the link in the back chat. You guys see it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Ryan, please come over. My dad is becoming a male feminist. We want to get your thoughts.
I know. I heard some of that. I was proud of him almost. Yeah.
We haven't talked in so long. Come say hi, buddy.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Well, you know what? Until next time.
It's a pleasure to see you.
Thanks,
Peace.
Glenn.
Greasy chicken.
Glenn's a sweetheart. Okay.
Yeah. Nobody hit the link.
Mr. Justin,
Mr. Justin, yes. Hi,
Yes,
Kings.
Ryan,
Hello,
yes.
Kings. Welcome.
And sweet auntie.
Wait, are we echoing? We must be echoing. Hold on.
What's going on?
Guys,
There we go. Hi, guys.
Ryan didn't use to go to our channel because he didn't.
Sounds right on my end. I don't hear any echoes.
Okay, I put echo cancellation on.
Put sweet
I think we're
auntie
good
up.
now. Yes, auntie.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
This is fun. Okay, so
Hello.
this is really interesting actually because we have. I believe I'm in the center. Justin is. I would say to my right. You're to my left, Ryan, and sweet auntie. I'm not sure where she is. She's kind of all over the place.
I'm in
But
the
I think
center.
she's a little bit closer. I think she's like center right.
I think she's between me
It
and
sounds like based on what I've heard.
Mr. Justin.
Excuse me.
Right. So, okay. So where did we leave off there?
Could
Okay.
I-
so,
I was about.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was about to say something about how I agree that we can frame a lot of those disputes and the friction you described as like power dynamics. I think that's a fair lens to view it through, but I would offer a slightly different lens. Like, I mean, we could also kind of just talk about this in terms of like communication, right? Like what we're really talking about is people being able to navigate conflict effectively. And we could talk about it as in like who has the final power and stuff, or we could just talk about like whether this couple is effective at communicating through that friction or not. And I think that's probably a slightly more productive way to view it, frankly.
don't you think, Ryan? This is my question. I asked Mr. Justin, couldn't answer this question. What is it that women bring to a heterosexual relationship? Granting, and I know you disagree with this, that they don't bring leadership. I'm going to say they don't bring leadership, but they bring a whole heck of a lot of other stuff. And I think in these spaces, sometimes it seems like it's all about like just women submitting to men, and that's what a relationship is. I don't really think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's just women submitting to men. I agree.
If that's your relationship, I think if you emphasize that a lot, what you're saying is men are better than women, because I do believe that men are better leaders than women, but I don't think leadership is the only aspect of a marital relationship. I think it's mostly like with raising children, it's not mostly about like who's in charge, but like what do the kids
when I think about like what makes a good leader, I think usually I'm thinking about people who they lead, like they might make like the final say in various situations, but I think oftentimes what they're doing is they're fostering an environment where everyone in the team can really like bring their best selves every day to the table.
Right.
So like if that's the way that they're fostering that environment, then I would say that's like a good leader. Like when I think about like good bosses, that's like what I've had in my past. I would think, and I think similarly, like when in good relationships, I feel like from both sides that we've fostered a good environment for both of us to bring.
But you don't believe in it.
And I've been in relationships where we both failed to do that, right?
But you don't believe in there being a leader in a relationship, right?
Not a de facto one. I don't think so. I don't really care about.
So then, what's the point of using the term leadership? It's you're
well, I'm just saying, like for people who prefer that terminology, but I think that there can be a kind of an alternating rather of who's taking like leadership roles in different contexts. You know, like I think I generally do take like a leadership role in my relationships, but I think sometimes I'm like happy to kind of pull back and let her take the wheel.
No, and like I'm not saying that there are universal rules, right? I only speak on what I choose to do. Now, if someone chooses to do otherwise and they're happy with the outcomes, then great. If everybody on board is happy and if everyone's happy and growing and progressing within those interactions and those relationships, great. I don't care.
Have an academy.
I know couples where couples there it's opposite. Where it's opposite, that there's a woman running the entire relationship and the man is following her, and they're happy because they're happy in their roles. They're like, listen, this is where I fit best and I like being here, and that's just what works. And I just happen to be in a relationship where it's like that.
Oh, you're just saying I happen to be in a relationship. I'm not saying in any way it's a model to anyone, but I happen to be in a relationship like this. So what's the point of coming on the internet and talking about it? Why do you have an
I like talking to people. What? Oh, because people do come to me and saying, "Hey, how can I have something like what you have?"
Oh, okay. So, but
the dynamic is appealing to men.
You must be saying it.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
You must,
but not all men though.
Good.
No, that's why I said just it's appealing to men generally. That's not 100%.
So you're not saying that this is a good model?
No, it is a good model. It's just not the only model.
No, but Mr. Justin is saying this is a good model, right?
Yes. Yep. It's a good model.
So then you have to throw that like relativism. You said whatever people do, whatever. You're saying like this is a good model.
Yes.
Of multiple.
It's not the best model. There is no best model. Like whatever has you growing, whatever has you grounded, whatever has you progressing through life and through the relationship, it's getting deeper and with greater understandings. Yes, that's how it should be. If it comes out that the woman is leading that. Right, and if the model that you're using doesn't produce those things, again, like with the Christian thing I was talking about, like the fruits are terrible, then you should probably change. If the outcomes are awful, you should probably change.
But you're presenting your model as one which is successful.
Yeah,
not just for yourself, but for other people.
Yes, no, not for everybody. For those who seek it out.
Well, I said for other people. I didn't say for every person.
Oh, I thought you said everybody.
Well, why wouldn't it be good for everyone?
Because people are different. Because not all men are cut out to do what I do. Not all women are cut out to be submissive. There's a range, So I look at people as individuals.
Spectrum, even.
And there are some guys that have had to turn away and said, "Listen, this isn't for you."
Okay. Can you explain your model? I would love for you to explain your model.
It would take way too long. I'd love to.
Just a broad approach. I know that.
Sign up.
You say
right, that's like explain that's like saying like explain how like the entire syllabus of like a psychology program. Like it would be really difficult and time consuming.
As you think it is.
I feel like a lot of the men. Hang on, but I think a lot of the men who this appeals to, I think they probably also consume a lot of content that is vaguely anti-feminist in nature. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. And again, like I said, I turn away some guys. So if they're coming to me with anger, if they're coming to me with too much pain, and they want to like learn what I do as a means of preventing pain, they're trying to prevent or fight against their fear, and they want to get back at women. If I sense that in them, I don't teach them.
What percentage
like they have to be coming at me like grounded?
Have been burned in a relationship? I know the answer.
I would say the majority of them.
100% of them, obviously.
No, not 100%. No, absolutely 100%.
not. 100% of them.
No, it's not 100%. It's not 100%. But it's how they come away from that, which is most important. Are they coming away from?
So you're at least willing to admit that most of the men that come to you have been burned in a relationship and want to avoid getting burned again. Okay.
Right, but are they coming at me from fear or anger? That's the difference.
I understand what you're saying. Like it's excessive. Okay, but like, and the means that you teach to avoid getting burned again is to stay in control of the relationship from the very beginning. Isn't that pretty much
that's their initial. Right, that's their initial. That's what they come at initially, right? Because they've been burned. They're like, oh fuck, like I don't want that to happen again. I need to find out answers because I really want to be in relationships, but I don't want to do what I did. This guy sounds like he has an answer for me, and I go, yeah.
The answer is to remain in control,
right? And so that's how he starts interpreting at the beginning. Granted, I like on an average, I coach guys every week for a minimum of 6 months. Sometimes it goes on for a year and a half, right? Or 2 years. So at the onset, it's like, okay, I want to prevent this fear from happening. I want to prevent this pain from happening, this avoidance, okay? Through the training, they come to realize that this has more to do with the relationship that they have with themselves. And that was the cause of the result of the things that caused them pain in the relationships. And it takes a long time because we have to start digging into their past. We got to start digging into their previous relationships, their relationship with their mother, their relationship with their father, certain beliefs that they have about themselves and about women and all these things, the details. The bulk of it has to do with how they treat themselves and how they see themselves. And most of the time, it's warped. It's really warped.
But that would be true of people on the right, the center, and the left. Like almost everyone would acknowledge that.
Exactly. And not every.
But what makes you distinctive is that you say, granting that you're going to go through all that, your prognosis, your prescription is make sure that you're in control of yourself and your partner from the very beginning.
I'm not in control. You're putting words in my mouth again.
Okay,
I'm
but
not.
You say you have not in any way kissed or touched this woman that you've been with for 6 to 8 weeks.
What I've said is that I've not said that I'm reaching for control. It's an invitation. Always an invitation.
You
always
have invited her. I understand
it's
consensual on her part, but what
it's always consensual
is an invitation to is you telling her what to do all day, every day, and there's no sexual connection. Correct?
It's not him telling; it's her asking what to do.
Or her asking and him telling. I mean, come on.
No, but that's the difference. He's not exerting the force; she's requesting the force.
She's submitting her freely. I'm not saying you've got someone like with a gun to their head. Freely submitting entirely her will to you, who she barely knows, for 6 to 8 weeks, despite there being no sexual relationship between the two of you, right?
And it doesn't happen like a light switch. Okay, it's not like a flip on off. Like she's just like, oh, okay, here's my entire will. That's I would think psychologically impossible. And if one were to do this, if one were to do this, I warn against it. It's something called sub frenzy, and where there's like a girl, she's newly interested in the DS dynamics, and she goes in full bore, and I'm like, listen, this is a major red flag, and you cannot move off of this. It'll be very exciting.
You're saying you're just a dom.
What do you mean?
You're saying you're a dom. You're not saying this
I am
is
a
about
dom.
dating. You're saying
dude, my school's called the Dominance Academy.
But I mean, you're like a BDSM guy. That's what you do.
Yes, I am personally, but not all of my students are.
So this isn't about dating. This is just about a kink.
No, it is about dating. It's about power dynamics. It's about interpersonal relationships. It's
but this
about
is like
how you
how
relate with yourself.
You're teaching someone like, let's say they want to be a swinger. Like, what's it like to be a swinger? Right?
No, he's teaching everybody how to do a foundational thing
generally
with the
applicable.
knowledge of something that says specialty.
This is for freaks, right? It's a freak show.
No, I think as someone who
there's
is,
actually
you know,
more
in a lot of
freaks in the
spaces-
vanilla world than there are in the
Yeah.
BDSM world.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as someone who's in a lot of space, like you know, like LGBTQ spaces and stuff, I see, you know, I'm friends with a lot of people who are in like BDSM communities, and these people seem to have like a very, very nuanced view of relationships and power dynamics, and much more than a lot of my, you know,
They're
more
super
vanilla-
liberal.
And there have been
they're also very
studies
liberal,
done.
Yeah.
There
like,
have been studies done. Hang on, I know Ben, you probably love studies, but there's I'd have to find the articles on them. But
Get
they've
off
been
on studies.
studies done on
Everybody
people
loves
who.
Oh, show me a study. And
I know, right? Where they measured trust and stress amongst couples who had been in long-term what's called vanilla relationships and long-term BDSM relationships. Within the vanilla relationships, the trust was much lower and the stress was much higher. And in the BDSM couples, the stress was much lower and the trust was much higher.
Do you mean BDSM, like people who are married and are in a or you're talking about people who aren't there people?
No,
who
just
like
they're, I don't know if
that?
they were married or not, but they're in long-term standing committed relationships.
Okay, but there are people who go do BDSM like on Friday night.
Sure,
And
yeah, and then
they're
just look for
vanilla.
play partners. That's just kind of doing it like on the surface for fun, for sexual gratification.
You're talking
that sort
about
of thing.
24/7 kind of BDSM.
Right? I'm talking something much more psychological, much more emotional, and not so much like dependent on sexual.
Oh, wait a second. So are you
play
saying
or
all
anything like
people should be BDSM people? Is that what you're saying?
that. Is that what I said?
I'm asking you a question.
Is that what I said? It's a direct question, yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Is that what I said?
I'm not a sub, bro. It's not going to work.
Is that what I said? It's a yes or no.
I asked you a
question.
fucking question. You asked me a
A
question.
little bit of
it's
sub
fine.
energy, Ben.
If you don't want to answer the question,
Right.
that's fine. I'm not
No,
saying
but
you said
it's-
that. I'm asking you if you are
Okay, right.
saying
So clearly, if I didn't say that, clearly I did not say that.
I'm not
No,
saying
no,
that's
he-
why I asked you a question.
He's asking you if you believe that. Not, he's
God
not claiming that you
damn,
said that. He's
dude.
just
I'm
wondering.
legitimately saying, are you advocating that?
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Okay, because you said vanilla people who are not into BDSM are not as happy as BDSM people. So it would seem to me,
Right.
to be
So
logical
the
to say
right.
that
So
you're
that, well, it
advocating
raises
for
the
BDSM
question.
for
Then.
everybody.
No, not necessarily. What it does raise the question of is what are people who are living power dynamics in their relationships? What's going on there that produces higher trust and lower stress? And what are people doing or not, or say doing or not doing? And what are people doing or not doing in vanilla relationships that's increasing stress and decreasing trust? That's the question. I don't have the exact answers,
I
but
agree.
I would say that's a much more worthwhile question.
Although studies of happiness are very hard to, I mean, it's very hard to quantify.
Yeah, I don't really know how they measure those things. Like, how do you measure trust? Maybe through a questionnaire or looking for patterns. Maybe you know, those lie detector things. I have no idea. But
Right.
you know, it was a
could be
reviewed
like
study.
suicide, drug use.
I have no idea.
Which I would
But
say my guess would be quite high among BDSM people.
Extrapolating that the
Yeah.
trust is a huge dynamic and it plays in a role of having lower reduced stress would indicate that that's healthier for a relationship, and to try to find what dynamic of that BDSM relationship is creating that, and not necessarily that that specific relationship type is good for all, but that there are factors to it that are beneficial in a long-term relationship.
But like here I would have, I actually think maybe Mr. Justin and Ryan are on the same page, because I know a little bit about BDSM relationships, and they are, so if he says I'm the dom, that actually means he's the sub. So in actual fact, he's advocating for feminine dominance. The only way you can be a true male dom is by doing illegal shit.
Yeah, so
Like,
this is what I was saying earlier. Ben thinks
States of America.
Ben thinks that masculinity is defined by violating people's consent, which is an absolutely disgusting view
Right.
that he has.
Yeah, and
No,
I'd say that your views are
Oh, no, I think
completely
he's
off
saying
on that.
True domination is involves violating somebody's consent. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, against
Ultimate
Yeah, like
domination.
well, Ryan,
Not
like,
ultimate
like
masculinity,
honestly, like right.
Yeah, but
if
he
you-
relates it to
I'm not into
sexuality.
doming. I'm not into doming. No, I'm not into doming. I'm not into that stuff at all. If you say like, oh, you'd love to go to a BDS, I would not. I don't like any of that stuff. Now, but Ryan, wouldn't you admit, like, so if you've been to one of these clubs where they do like bondage stuff, I know because Grace went to one and she was like, it's all about the women being in charge. They let you know the women are totally in charge. If they feel slightly uncomfortable, the guy's thrown out and the cops are called. So, Mr. Justin, you said like, have you been in this? What did you call it? Lifestyle. Okay, but this lifestyle is gynocentric. It is women centered.
And let me explain to you why you believe that, and it'll make complete sense. Would you say that more or less men are pussy worshipping simps who are controlled by lust?
Many, probably at those clubs.
Would you say more or less?
I mean, I think
I'd listen to your daughter.
too many.
Not all. I'm just kidding.
I would say.
I'm just kidding.
I didn't say that. I said more or less.
A lot. Yes, a lot.
More or less.
Wait,
But
can
I
I
would
ask
say
you a
it's
question?
well over 50%.
Okay,
right?
sure.
If we're looking at like say ages of like 20 somethings up to like 40 somethings, your average guy, if you were to measure right, if you measure that, I would say more than 50% of those guys are simpish and guided by their lust, which would explain your view of how the dom is actually the sub. I totally get that.
I'm one of those guys, kind of. But
I've seen it in spaces where guys who are proclaiming to be dominants, but they're like, oh yeah, but you need to honor, cherish, and follow the whims of the submissive. And I'm like, wait a second, how is that even fucking possible then? How do you call yourself what you are if you're following the whims of her?
I'm actually not following your logic. I made an argument that these spaces are actually gynocentric and misandrist. You're saying that's because most of them are because...
Yes, because the men who are involved are simps.
Okay. Well, but isn't it also because legal structure? Like you can't... Like our legal structure is such that like violating a woman's consent is like a no-go. It doesn't matter whether people sign their name to it.
Right, but I'm saying that psychological framework will be there regardless of whether those laws were set up at all.
I mean, you can
dog is like really
find
distracting
women
me.
who want to be truly domed, but you have to do this like in a dungeon, a literal dungeon in which the cops don't come, right? And you gotta...
No, it doesn't. It's not necessarily a physical thing. It's psychological.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe psychological, you can get away with it. You're saying you can kind of just dom
It's
a
not getting
woman.
away with it. I'm not trying to get away with it.
You're not going to get in any legal trouble if you mentally dom a woman.
But that's where true submission lies, is at the core of a woman, which is down in her emotions, down at the core of her identity. It's through psychology and emotion. There's plenty of women who can get on their knees. There's plenty of women who will allow themselves to be flogged and spat on and told this and told that and do this and do that. Okay, but they're only submitting in form. They're not submitting in spirit. Just like, okay, you're a Christian. Yeah. There's plenty of people who go to church on Sundays, they do the cross on their chest and sit in the pew and they think I'm a good Christian. And then the rest of the week, they're total shitheads.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Well, in fact,
and they're like, oh yeah, I'm this. And it's like, yeah, doing the thing doesn't make you the thing. You actually have to feel it deep within your core.
Sure, I get you. Okay, but like, so I'll use, you said 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, I didn't read the book, but I watched part of the movie. It's a total
terrible
movie. It actually is like misandrist, right? Because she's totally
and he admits it. He's not a dom
with her, right?
And you
not really
exactly. Exactly. And he actually admits it. He says, "I'm not a dom. I'm a sadist." That's what he says.
Right.
He's not a dom.
In fact, he's like
he's a sadist that's actually driven by this compulsion to do what he does, which means he's submissive to that.
Okay. All right. So then I agree with you that a lot of women want to like appear to, and I think you find this a lot on the right among so-called conservatives who want to appear to be obedient and traditional to their husbands.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
who aren't, like Rachel Wilson, for example.
I don't know who anybody is.
Wildly self-willed female who, well, Ryan knows them very well.
Feminist icon. Yeah, I debated Rachel like a week
No,
ago.
we were just
Girl
watching.
boss,
We were
girl
just
boss.
watching something about Andrew and Rachel, in which Rachel was saying, like, people say, like, blink your eyes 3 times. Okay, I think Andrew is the one who should be blinking his eyes 3 times to let the bros know. Like, when the shit gets
No
out of
doubt,
here.
yeah.
Okay,
Rachel
so
is
we agree
definitely
on that.
has a much more powerful aura than
Oh,
Andrew.
yeah.
I'm terrified of her a little bit.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Mr. Justin, they're this Christian couple on the
Traditional.
internet who scream at everyone who disagrees with them. But okay, so I agree with you. So I'm with you. You're saying spiritually, there are women who want to be truly submissive, not just play the game. Like, I think a lot of women who do BDSM are like corporate people, and then on the weekend they want to flip it just for, but then they go right back to being corporate, and that's who they are. Okay.
Yeah, it's a means of letting off steam, just like going to a massage
Yeah.
therapist or something like that.
Yeah, you flip the script, but it's just for play. In real
Yes.
life, she's a control freak, really. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you're saying there are a lot of women. Are there a lot of women who genuinely want to be like submissive?
Yes. Yes, it's at the core of the being. It goes back to the whole yin yang thing and void and form and all that. It's a philosophical thing, but also a biological thing. It's a realism thing.
Okay.
Depends on how you want to look at it. But
Do you
whether
feel
it's
like
readily
you're-
available, well, check this out. Whether it's readily available to her to express herself through this varies from person to person. Because let's say she's had a troubled childhood.
Yeah.
Maybe let's make it extreme. Like she was raped at a young age. She was an orphan. She went through the system of going to different orphanages and things like that, foster care and all this and that. She definitely, over years of doing this, develops psychological armor, layers upon layers of psychological armor just to survive, just to get through life. She has to be steeled in her will and her mind. Okay. So her, in her core, there is that girl who's like, I just really want to feel safe and taken care of and cherished and just be free emotionally and freed from the own prison of my mind that's going 1,000 miles an hour, always trying to check, perceive, and watch and guard and all this, that, and the other.
Yes.
Okay. But to get to that girl who's in there, you have to go through many layers. And then it's like, well, do you want to do that? Now, is every girl like this? No, not every girl's had layers and layers of traumatic experience and things like that. What's up?
But why would you want to penetrate through those layers to like what is essentially?
I don't advise it. I absolutely do not advise it. I tell my guys this all the time. I said, you got to, to your point, like the assessment, like assessing for those layers of armor. And if there's unwillingness to comply, that's one little marker of saying, I don't trust. Right?
Okay.
Like, I don't want
Who are
to
you
be with
looking
somebody
for?
who's like unwilling to trust.
In chat, Natman says, Mr. Justin, please command sub Ryan to talk. He's waiting for your permission.
Ryan, you may speak now.
No, actually, Ryan is kind of an alpha. That's the funny thing about it. He's not, I've always, Ryan, you gotta admit, I've always championed you when people say you're an F slur.
Yeah, both of you have always been longtime radical coder stands. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're more centrist, I think, than a lot of guys who have you similar.
No, I think that you assume a lot of positions that I should have because you have your internal idea of what my worldview is, and it doesn't always line up. And I think that's what you're kind of pointing to. But I hear you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we're as far away as possible. Well, look at how we think about the Wilsons. It pretty much lines right up. But I would acknowledge
yours is a bit more. I think some of our worldview about the Wilsons aligns because of our genuine beliefs. I think you're also a little bitter towards them just because how they've treated you. But
well, did they treat you well?
Oh no, not at all. But I just don't care.
Okay. So you're saying I'm a bitch and you're not. Okay.
Yeah, because he's an alpha male.
Maybe.
What can I say?
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I think that they suck because the way they treated me, but I think that's just part of who they are. So I don't really have a problem saying both.
You know,
But
they
anyway,
raised money. Andrew raised money to replace my missing tooth. He
Really?
hasn't given it to me yet, but he did a fundraiser one night when he was drunk.
Well, he didn't
His
take
fans
it.
raised like 500
But he got
bucks.
mad at you, so he told you you couldn't have the money anymore.
Well, Rachel
Yeah,
got.
we've talked behind the scenes though. I think
Yes.
he's gonna give it to me if I think if he raises enough for it, because the $500 that's not gonna get me a new tooth. I was like I'll take the money. I could use the money, but I can't get a tooth with that right now.
Are you missing a tooth?
Yeah, dude.
Just a whole tooth? Just one knocked right out? I think you
Yeah,
got to
from our
get
first fight, Ben. You don't
Wow.
remember when you punched me?
No.
How did
I think it's but at this point it's like part of your personality though. You know what I mean?
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. It's just a trademark.
Can I just say
get
about
a
all this,
gold,
like
get a gold one.
But isn't it right in the middle? It shouldn't be
Maybe
right
a
in the middle.
ruby or like an emerald, something like that.
Yeah. A grill. Get a whole grill. But okay, so
You want to was just about to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this. I understand you now are talking about like BDSM like mostly, so it's not really like a relationship. But I would like to hear Auntie's take on this. I just think the idea of overemphasizing the submission thing and like your husband is your leader and like you do as he says, I think I would get resentful. I just think that sounds like this whole sphere just puts way too much emphasis on that. Not that I'm rebellious, but just like this idea that like this person is like over me and we're not equals. I would eventually become resentful. I would want to be with somebody who sees himself as a friend more than a like dom. Does that make sense?
Have you
No, it
ever wanted
makes
to
sense.
jump your friends?
Have I ever wanted? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you said friend. Sorry, I'm sorry,
have
sweet.
sex with?
Go ahead.
He means jump.
Oh, I thought he meant jump
Sexually.
like fight.
No, he meant jump
No, he
their
means jump.
bones because if you're
No, you
if
wanna
you're making
jump
your
the bones
relationship
of
a
your friend?
friendship.
No,
Then-
I'm not a lesbian. No.
No, he's
Well, male
making the.
friend.
If you're saying that in a relationship you want them to see you more as a friend, would they be sexually attracted to you if you were just a friend? There's a thing there, but no, I think one of the things, Grace, I want to speak to is this. And you even, it's funny when you said the word submission, you threw up an air quote, because the word submission itself is, I think, the issue with a lot of people understanding that submission isn't loss of agency. And I think that's where people get confused a lot because they think that by submitting to your man, you're losing your agency and free will and power to do things. But that's not the case. The submission is the fact that I respect and have seen consistent, good, valuable choices made by my husband. And I know that I have made choices that maybe aren't great, but that if I can stand behind him, I don't have to make, I have someone with logic that's helping me reason out my own mental state. And now there are times where I am able to take a more leadership, I'm putting that in air quotes, role, in the sense that there are things that I am better at than my husband is. And he would say the same. And we both have those
No,
characteristics.
Grace,
No,
Grace,
can I have
no,
one
wait,
thing?
Grace, I want to ask you one question.
Okay.
You get these Zoomer guys, right? They'll meet up with you and they'll go, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Okay, don't you prefer a guy? Now, he should be nice and come to understand a few things about you, but he'd be like, this is what we're doing. Okay, unless you have a problem. And if you have a problem with it, okay, but like,
Yeah.
doesn't every Zoomer girl say, like, I can't stand a guy who comes over, or we make a thing and he's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because he's not assertive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what friends do?
Definitely.
No.
I would expect male friends to have that attitude as well. Yes.
Not as much.
Not as
You're just
much
purely
though.
friends.
Not as much.
Right,
What
but
about-
your romantic partner has that energy and just constantly has this, not deferring to anything but what you want to do, right? It's
Well,
just
if he
very friendly
said,
about it.
"Let's
Says,
do
oh yeah,
something,"
like, hey, you know, like
if he
that's
he
not
said,
going to be
"Let's do
something that's
and it's
arousing.
totally not something you'd be into, then you'd say like, because like he doesn't know me, right? Right.
But
Yeah.
no, I mean, posing the question of like, well, what do you want to do? Because that was the phrase used. You know, like that's how kind of friends do it. They kind of like, just let's play around the middle ground for a little while, like just see like
Sure.
where we can come to a consensus.
Yeah.
And for someone that's fine for friendship, but I guarantee in a relationship, if a guy is doing that, it's gonna dry you up. It's not gonna be like, ooh, because there's
that's
assertiveness is
true.
attractive. Not rude assertiveness, but just assertiveness is
assertiveness, yeah,
attractive.
that's
I
true.
think you have to be able
I
to
think we'd
navigate.
all
both
agree with
worlds.
that. I think we'd all agree with
Do
that.
you think it would be
Well, and
weird
just to
say-
counter what your daughter was saying, that's all.
Do you think
Yeah,
it'd be,
she's an idiot.
do you think it would be weird to say that like a romantic relationship should be kind of like a brother-sister relationship?
It's very weird to say that.
No, because what I mean is like
that is weird.
brother sister. Like, no, hear me out. Okay, when
Nope,
you're with
I'm
your
done.
brother, you let him, like, you trust him in the male areas, and he trusts you in
Yeah,
the
in many
female
ways,
areas.
yeah,
But you're
sure.
like you're like friends. But it, you
What
know,
are
like,
male and
my
female
brother, I would
areas?
trust him if he was like, "Let's not go down this road. Let's go somewhere else."
In other words, he acts like a male, you act
He-
like a female.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
and
But
it
there's
works
not
out
this
pretty
like
well.
power thing most of the time.
Yeah, without the sexual.
But there
dynamic.
is, isn't there? Even with your brother, there's a power dynamic. No matter what, your brother could probably beat the shit out of you.
Well, yeah, I mean that's always going to be
So
there.
there's
with
a
somebody.
dynamic there
Like,
between
not-
a man
not
and a
my
woman,
brother.
regardless of their titles. And so, I don't know.
There's a potential power dynamic, but what I'm saying is it's not going on all the time. If you have a healthy relationship, you're not constantly battling all.
No,
the
no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm saying like
work
when
out,
situations
you
arise,
confirm.
when
then
situations
you
arise, so then that in that situation, such as where are we going for vacation? What's happening for dinner tonight?
What bills
what do you want
are
to do here? What
allocated.
Right, right, bills want to allocated. What do we want to take on as a bill? Like, oh, this subscription to whatever, blah blah blah. Like,
Right.
if there's any differing of opinions where there's not like just deference to one person's opinion, there's going to be a power differential. And that's just the nature of relationships. And then, Ryan called this, conflict resolution. I like calling it power dynamics. It's the same
But
shit.
you have a maximum power differential in your relationship with this woman who's voluntarily doing it, right?
Yeah.
So everything she does, she runs by you. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, that relationship, you're both voluntarily doing it. Okay. But I would say a relationship when there's such a maximum differential, her gifts aren't being utilized very much because you're just sort of running. The
How do
show.
you know?
So one person is running.
How
the
do
show
you know that?
for two
How do
people.
you know that her gifts are not utilized? And
Because
how do you
a
know
lot-
what gifts she has?
Okay, I mean, if she's like mentally retarded, that might be like perfectly fine.
Okay, but
what
she's
if
got
she
a
completes
PhD
the
in
task to
law.
a high extreme level? What if she's able to complete the task to a level beyond any comprehension that you have? That would be a
Well, I mean, you're
utilized
saying
skill.
you're giving her like minute tasks to do and then to come back to you. If you just say, do what makes sense to do and follow, like make money or whatever, like you don't need.
And
to
I know guys who do that, and I know guys who micromanage far more than I do. It's a range. It's not just like one set thing and like
Okay,
this
but
is
I'm
what it
saying-
is.
to the extent you micromanage someone, which may be necessary, but it's much better to macro manage someone. You're much more like if Ryan
do
was
both.
working for me,
It depends.
and I'm micromanaging him, and he can do a lot of stuff without me micromanaging him. Now I know that this is on both because I've been a boss. There are some
Right.
employees who insist on being micromanaged all the time because they don't want to take any responsibility, and there are some bosses who over manage their employees because they don't want to trust them. But the best
agree.
situation is as much as possible not to do that on both sides.
Provided in your bossing situation, provided those
Depending
people
on the
that you give them that trust, you've trained them or you trust them with the knowledge that they have.
True.
Right.
That's true. Yes.
Right. So it's not this constant thing. And I would say for the guys that I've known in the lifestyle that I'm in, who are constantly micromanaging despite their submissive's ability to show consistency and competency, that's their problem.
Okay,
That's
but
a
what I'm
problem
wondering
that the manager has.
I understand this. So in terms of employee, or Ryan could be the employer someday and I could be his employee. That's no problem. This is my employer, so I'm not big into that. But what are you training this woman? What are you training her to
Well,
do?
I'm not going to get into the detail. I don't want to focus on the details of my own personal
Or
relationship.
not your relationship, but like a relationship like this. I don't understand. What are you training her to do?
Okay,
in
so
your
beyond
brain.
the good foundation, but there's I could give examples of like her understanding your values and your goals, certain habits of communication.
Yeah.
It could be it comes down to like what the individual goals, values, and desires are and needs.
Okay.
So
All right.
It
Now,
sounds like
do
the
you
goal is to
enjoy
get in
training her?
alignment.
Do you enjoy
sorry?
training her?
I get satisfaction out of seeing positive growth.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. This is really interesting to me. Let's say Grace is not who she is, but she's just generic female, right? Okay. And I'm her dad, and I raised her from a very young age to do all the things you're doing, right? And I trained her to be submissive to a man. Then I hand her off to you to get married. Okay, so you don't have to do much of the training. I've done it. Isn't that the ideal here?
Good luck with that.
She just has to adapt to you.
Right.
Oh, good luck.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
That would make sense
It's
if
a total failure.
No, I get it. Like, and that would
boy.
make sense if your needs, values, goals, desires, principles, codes, and rules were the exact same as mine.
Okay, so what if they were? Wouldn't
Well,
it be a lot, in a sense, cheaper for you to have a father? Because it's more natural for a father to train a daughter.
That's
than for a
like finding a
potential
dandelion
training.
on the moon.
I was gonna
Like,
say a
come
needle
on.
in a haystack situation here. You're talking about an extreme ideal
Like,
versus
what do you think the
reality
chances
of
of
the
that
nuance.
actually happening?
Well, I mean,
like,
you
come
would
on.
assume, like in a Mormon, if it's everyone's
No,
a
my
Mormon,
Lanta, you're
the
talking
father is going to raise the
extremist
daughter
minority.
to be a good Mormon wife,
Yeah,
and
This
then
is
there's
the
gonna be
minority
man
here.
looking for a good Mormon
You're
wife. It's
using
going to be a pretty good fit.
fantastical.
No?
Right, it would be. Okay, yes.
Exception to
it
the
would be. If
rule.
you're right, so you're saying if you were exactly the same, great. That would be great. But the probability of that being the case is next to zero.
No, but you like this. You're not admitting. You like doing this. You actually.
I said I like the outcomes.
He likes the fruits of his labor.
I've been a listen.
all that stuff. You'd be like,
Listen, I've been a teacher in many different things through the majority of my life. Like, I enjoy teaching. It's
a rewarding
I've done many
experience.
different careers. Yes, I like it.
Ryan, see if you could follow what
I like
I'm
teaching.
saying. I think
I was a corporate trainer for
parent
10
and a
years.
child have an uneven relationship, not when they're adults, but when they're kids. And I think that when a male and a female are getting together, that they basically have an equal relationship, but that a lot of guys in the red pill want to say, like, no, I'm still kind of like dadding you and teaching you. And that my argument would be, if you have a relationship in which you're kind of fathering the female, even if she might need it, and even if she might like it, she's eventually going to resent you. And this is not a healthy.
Not if there's a good outcome.
Possibly.
You shouldn't be
Not
a
if
second
there's a good
father.
outcome.
You shouldn't be a second father and treat a woman like your daughter, because she's eventually going to fucking hate you for doing that and rebel. And
I think that
so.
comes from your.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
I
that
think
comes
there's
from your
something to
lens
that.
of pain and fear.
It depends
That's
on
not
the
a
outcome.
guarantee.
I
Right?
don't
If it's a
think
crap
what if
outcome, she'll resent
what
him.
if everyone enjoys the positive outcomes? What if the outcomes are positive?
I mean, let me give you an example. Okay, sorry.
that would be ideal, right?
Someone die, then I, the husband, die. Okay, and she's been used to me giving her all the orders. Now she's got to take care of a bunch of kids.
She's been
needs to have
trained for
private
years. She's ready for this moment.
No, she's going to be an absolute disaster in this situation.
No, you act like the submission is loss of complete agency. It's the ability to be an agent of one's own, is to be trained and being developed into someone who can work and do everything they need to do to create life as in abundance.
You're married. Did your husband train you when he met you?
Yeah.
He trained you.
What does that mean? Can you give me an example? Like, what does that even mean?
you
Yeah,
said you
because
got
you're looking
that.
at it in a negative lens and I'm looking at it as a generic lens. My husband had an extremely rigid framework for what his household and his future looked like. And I realized it was a future I wanted. And so I adjusted my frame to fit inside, my foundation to fit inside his frame.
Can you give me
Wait,
one
but
example?
wait,
Wait, can, no,
then you agree.
I'm the employer. Can you give me one example of that? What does that mean? Like, he said he wants to only eat vegetables and not like
he
carbs
said that he didn't want me
and shit?
to have male friends. And I had male friends and then I didn't.
Okay.
And you only got rid of your male friends because he told you to?
Because I understood it was respectful to him to do so, and not because he was trying to control me in the regard of you can only do what I say. No, here's what I'm saying and why I'm saying it is because there are chances for there to be a dangerous situation. Most women that are actually hurt by a man in a SA way is by someone they know. And it can be someone who is a friend who is feeling that they want you and can't have you. And I'm not saying that's 100%, but that's a huge reason for the respect aspect to it.
Okay, but you are now on the internet interacting with 3 males who you are, how
We're not
You have
friends.
no control
You're
exertion over me
complicating-
through the internet, though. There's no
There's no
physical
what?
dominance. There's no physical presence
there's no
to you.
chance for you to fall in love with one of us?
No,
Especially me.
Been around
Have
long
you
enough,
seen
you
how
never
good
know.
looking I am?
no, 100%. I've been married and with my husband for almost 15 years.
Yes, I know, but so wouldn't that also you're rebelling against him right now because you're interacting with males without asking
no,
him.
the rule
You're
was
doing it
male
the
friend.
sideways
No, Ben,
way.
you're putting
Good for
you're a
you.
master of putting words in people's mouths.
You're
She
just
did
saying
not say
only
that.
a pussy
He is
ass
very good at
bitch.
that. I agree.
Only a
No,
pussy
Staying
ass
in the
bitch.
physical
you're a
friends-
master
friendship
of,
and
of
umbrella.
not
You're
listening
saying he
or
should trust
trolling.
me. He should trust me. We've been together 15 years. Like, give me a fucking break.
No,
Right,
no,
but
because
you're
it's not
acting
me
like
that he
the
doesn't
words
trust.
were-
It's the physical. No.
Go see
It's
Mr.
the
Justin.
safety.
Go see Mr. Justin. He's going to
It's the
control you.
safety
You
and
have
the
failed.
physical exertion that the male would have over me that he doesn't trust, not me. And that's the thing
Well, so
women
you're-
don't understand. It's not controlling to say don't have male friends because I don't trust you. It's not you I don't trust. It's the men that are
So it's only
untrustworthy.
physical.
Wait,
So it's only
wait. So
physical.
your husband was only afraid that your male friends were going to like physically assault you?
No, but that they had a physical presence and influence on my life.
Oh, I mean,
And
this
the words
sounds
were not
like-
the word Ben, the words were not communicating with other men, right? Because there's the guy giving her coffee in the morning at their favorite coffee shop, and
Right,
you know,
exactly.
there's
Found a
men
way
everywhere.
around.
So no, that's not what it was, Ben. The
You're a
statement was
pussy
male.
ass bitch. Okay, I won't have any
Ben,
physical,
Ben,
but I'll sure have
Ben.
a lot of swinging dicks
Like, can
around.
you be friends with men who are
Ben.
weaker than you? Like,
Ben.
can you be friends with like weak, tiny men like me?
You're
Ben,
physically so
the
far
word
away from me
was-
that there's nothing you could do to exert control over me.
Ben,
There's a
the word
complete
was
difference.
be
I
friends.
don't mean-
Justin is like the king of
Literally.
like, controlling. He's like the guru of women. They like
Ben-
fall at his knees.
Ben, it was friends. He said I didn't want male friends, not don't interact with males because that's
how is
impossible.
she not in a position of friendship?
We're not friends.
I work in a male-dominated field. I'm the only female that does what I do, and there is no issue with that in any regard. It's the fact of hanging out one-on-one or without my man present with these friends and males that is the problem.
I'm just saying, like, you obviously
It's
found
not
a way around.
communication,
You
it's
like being
friendship.
with men who are not your husband, and I think that's normal. And I think there's something really unhealthy about a man who says you can't have any relationships with men other than me because I'm such a little pussy
I
that
agree with
I'm
Ben here.
afraid that they're, you're gonna come on. What's that, Ryan?
I agree with you on
Okay,
that,
yeah.
on that one.
I mean, that's
think
real
that-
insecurity.
I'm just curious, like sweet auntie, can you
Yeah.
be friends with like weaker men, like small beta men that you could like
How
overpower?
about gay men? How about gay men? Could you be friends
No,
with
because
gay men?
there's
Gay men.
gay men wouldn't matter. It's the influence of someone wanting. Okay, so it's not even just like a physical domination thing. It's also a mental influence. So let's say I were to have a male friend that wasn't gay and had some sort of a feelings or attraction to me. They would then utilize that relationship we had to influence my decisions in even a manipulative way in order for me to see my husband in a poor view.
What about female?
Maybe.
Friends? Can you be friends with lesbians?
Female friends do that too.
Like,
Oh,
wouldn't
you're-
you
Like,
wouldn't
you
you
have to
guys
cut those friends
agree?
off?
You're saying
Wouldn't you
you're-
guys agree that most guys have a covert desire to fuck their female friends?
sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. I don't want to fuck all my female friends. Some of them I do.
There's right, but it's
Rules and
covert.
exceptions.
or like there's always exceptions. But would you say that this is probably a common thing?
No. Okay, so you guys are espousing a view that women, opposite sex people, really basically can't be friends. You can only be like lovers or like.
No, women can friend zone men
No.
easily and not have any sexual attraction to them, but I don't think it's the same vice versa in most
You'd be
cases.
surprised. Well,
Mhm.
sure, maybe not most,
Yep.
but it's
How
certainly
about like
more
how
common
about
than
if I
people
was
think.
friends with an old lady? Are you saying like really I want to bang her?
I said most.
Within sexual, yeah, you're always going towards extremes to make your point.
Yeah, and I'm speaking in generalities.
How about a fat woman? You think I really want to have
Again,
sex?
another extreme.
It's not that extreme. Have you looked
Hey,
around?
no, have you heard
America.
the rumors about Mother Great with the D? I don't know. You might want to, you know.
Wait,
No,
but Zach,
the examples are
you would-
non-sexually appealing. That's your
you would
your
agree that a
examples.
married woman shouldn't have like a really close male friend, right?
I would
That's
say
a little weird.
it can be
See?
problematic at a certain point. And you know who are the worst friends for females to have is gay guys, because gay
No.
guys will start getting catty.
Single
Not-
women are the worst friends for a married woman to have.
Gay
There's a lot of
guys will
similarities.
start like they'll work this kind of thing, like we're sisters, but he's also male. She'll start saying it's very dangerous. But anyways, feel free.
No, I think a single woman friend is actually one of the worst friends for a
Yeah,
female
exactly.
to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, females having other female friends can be very dangerous.
Single
because they
female
can-
friends when you're
they
married.
can-
When you're
they
married
can
and have
kinda
other
gang up
married,
against you.
happily married friends, that's a good cohesion.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's the best situation. I'm saying there are tensions, but like
Couple friends are good.
I don't think, I think a lot of these rules that people come up with in the red pill, like I remember watching a video or something about a guy saying like, if he's out with his woman and there's a male waiter, she may not look at him.
And you're speaking of radical views, and I agree with you. Those are a little extreme.
Yeah, I
You
saw
are
there's
so
a coach
sure if you're
actually.
doing that.
Well, there was some guy like YouTuber coach, black guy, and he's got a white wife, and
Yeah,
she's not
that was-
allowed to look
Mhm.
right, and she's like not allowed to look at men in the face. It's like
Right.
what's gonna happen? Like, come on, dude.
But
Like,
that's
taking it a
extremist.
little
That's like
far.
saying not having girls' nights out versus a wine and paint with your friends or getting in hoochie mama outfits and getting drunk at the club. Those are two very radical things where one can be a boundary and not letting them do it at all is ridiculous.
But what I'm saying is like essentially, if you're married to someone, you have that level of trust. You should give them a wide berth. And if they make mistakes,
But they're not the
know
ones
that
that are
they're
only making the
mistakes.
mistakes. It's like driving offensively versus defensively. Just because they can drive offensive doesn't mean that they can do it defensive. And even if they could drive defensively, you can still get hit by another car when you're doing the best.
All right, what about this? Do you think it's reasonable to say you're married? Do you think it's reasonable for women, if you're at the beach, to say, like, I don't want you looking at any of
I don't have to
Very
say
good.
I'm married. But also no, I'm okay with my man looking at other women.
well, but I'm not asking you whether you're okay with it. Do you think that it's reasonable for a woman to say, I don't feel comfortable with that?
I think that if someone were gawking and gazing and you had a problem with that, I think that's very reasonable. If someone makes a quick glance and you freak out over that, that's unreasonable.
Okay. But you mean there's a kind of fine line there, right? So do
Correct.
you think that a woman has a right to have custody over her husband's eyes in that sense? Or
No. She
Okay.
just has a right to advise on what she would find preferable as her own boundary. And if it's something she can live with, can't live with someone having that boundary crossed, then she needs to exit the relationship.
What about in the old days, if he had like a Playboy magazine, could she say like, you have to get rid of that?
Nah, I don't think so.
Really? You don't think so?
I would say definitely.
Ah,
No,
okay.
I wouldn't care if my husband went to the strip club. I've even told him again.
But now what if you had, what if it was, can a man say you can't go to like, it wouldn't be like a strip club, but you can't go out drinking with the girls. You have no problem with that?
I think that either person saying a boundary is not a problem. It's if you're willing to not budge on it, then you need to respect yourself and vacate the relationship. So I think it's very reasonable for a woman to say a man should throw away a Playboy. I personally wouldn't do it.
Oh, I see. You're saying, okay. And the reason you wouldn't do that is because you would say, if he wants to look at other women, like me trying to control him is just going to cause more problems. that right?
Yeah, but I also live in the north, so it's cold in the winter. And if someone goes and starts my car to heat it up for me, and then I just get to drive a hot car, I'm not too worried about it.
Oh, so you don't even really have a problem if your husband, let's say, has an orgasm looking at fantasizing about having sex with a different woman than you?
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me particularly, but I know a lot of women would have a problem with that.
Are you a cuck queen?
No, I'm just.
Would you have a problem if he had sex with a woman other than you?
If it wasn't under my own guidance, yes.
Oh, wait a second.
Whoa. What?
So
We're in a monogamous relationship, and we always have been. But if my husband had interest in other women, and was just openly discussed with me that I would have boundaries and rules regulated to that, but I wouldn't disallow it completely.
Oh, so your husband can have sex with other women than you?
If he so choose to and wanted to and had a discussion with me and set forth boundary rules, yes, I would open it on his side, but not on my own.
But that, you'd have to admit that that's a very unusual position.
Correct. It's 100% unusual.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to say like I'm a fairly normal person. You are.
No, I'm not normal.
You know what's funny though.
This guy over here is
that
BDSM. You're like, I don't know what.
you know what's funny though is that she's willing to have this open and clear discussion with her husband, while there's tons and tons of people in regular relationships who do this anyway covertly.
True. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'd rather be honest.
And we're just like, oh yeah, that's just normal, you know? Like, oh, cheating here, cheating there, deception here, lying there. And it's like, oh yeah, that just kind of happens in relationships. But when someone says, hey, let's talk about this clearly and openly and discuss things like how we feel, boundaries, rules, how we would go about it, if it were to come about, that's unusual.
And it shouldn't be, but it is. But I also have mommy and daddy issues. So I'm like the perfect storm.
Okay. So here's what I would say. I would say, I agree with Mr. Justin. I think it's healthier for a woman to tolerate a man stepping out and having a mistress than, but kind of like don't ask, don't tell, than it is to openly sort of like participate in it. I think
there should be a discussion about it, so there's no dishonesty. But I also agree with the don't ask, don't tell. So if it were a thing that we opened up, one of the initial boundaries would be that we'd have to have a discussion about it and rules regarding it. But then going forward, I wouldn't want to be told detail.
Right. Okay, but that's not really how don't ask, don't tell works. It's not.
No, I agree with you. You're talking on a totally don't ask, don't tell.
But like, I'm not going to talk about it after now. It's like
you're saying like don't even communicate. You're saying don't even communicate. This is like something you're going to do at all, or like something you're considering.
And that would be more common. I agree, and mine would be a less common scenario. But that's how I would view it: is that I would like to have an open discussion so I can lay out boundaries and understand where you're coming from in the choices to be making this. But then going forward, I wouldn't want to be involved in the like actual dynamic of it.
And the reason that you're sort of like would be tolerant of this is because you want a warm car in the winter, sort of like a pragmatic thing.
Yeah, it's very pragmatic.
So you wouldn't in any sense encourage this, but you're just saying like, I would but you don't think you could
like if it were the case, she would be accepting of it.
But why wouldn't you just say that would be horrible?
Would you like it? Like you would be unhappy about it, right?
No, I wouldn't be unhappy about it at all.
Well, you're kind of saying if you don't want to hear about it, that
because it's like a gory detail that's unnecessary for me to hear that portion of it. But if your needs are being satisfied, I'm very satisfied about that.
So what if he altogether said like, I'm just going to bang this bitch, but I'll keep warming your car up?
That would be all right with me.
Bruh.
That's called divorce. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not a very sexual being. So for me, it's a completely different scenario. I don't have lust that it triggers me to make decisions based off of that. It's a very more methodical relationship in my eyes.
Methodical?
How do you guys feel about poly relationships?
Crazy.
I don't particularly care for them in the sense that they work in like a throuple dynamic. But if someone were to have like a side piece consistently, that would be preferable to multiple side pieces.
What about the Thorpes?
I can't get into that.
In certain situations, like arranged marriages, like in royal marriages, I think like
no, not royal, just regular people who are in poly relationships. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think they're losers.
Yeah, losers.
I don't really have any problem with it.
I think there's something missing in their initial dynamic, which is something that I take accountability for in my dynamic, which is why I would allow that very unheard of dynamic.
I mean, I think in Muslim cultures where it's normalized, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But like, yeah, I mean,
I think a lot of times
it actually doesn't happen very often
in Muslim
like because no. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I thought you said BDSM. It's because the relationship gets so tightly bonded between a dominant sub, often when it's beyond just play, that it usually is quite monogamous.
Do you
Sets
find
cases, CXV, or
BDSM to
whatever
be
letters you are.
exhausting at some point? And you just want to go back to like just being normal? No, never.
No. I find
think there's,
quote
Do you
unquote
think you're a
normal to be
weirdo?
exhausting.
Do you think you're a
No.
weirdo? No. Okay.
No.
In terms of the poly relationship, I think there's a lot of like different dynamics that emerge there. I mean, I think there's certain relationships where like people have different sexual and romantic like interests, and they might like get those served in different ways by different partners.
Like you would never want with your like partner just to be like, you know, her to make a joke and you laugh at it and be like, anyways, you want to just get something to eat? It always has to be this like master kind of thing.
No, that actually does happen.
It would get boring.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like you have this vision of like how things are, and that's no fault of yours. You just have a lack of understanding. But no, it's not that dry. However, I will say I know of some on the far end of the spectrum that are that dry. I don't like it that way. It's too rigid. It's too.
I mean,
strict.
like when she calls you up in the morning, are you ever like, oh my God, can we just not do this today? Just do whatever the fuck you want. You're an adult. Never.
No. Mm-mm.
You're like, okay, I actually want to hear everything you're doing and then tell you what to do. It just seems exhausting.
There's not always instructions.
Oh, so you could say like, I don't know, bitch, do whatever you want to do. That's your instruction for today.
I could say that, yes. If that's what I wanted to do, of course.
All right. But wouldn't she say like, well, that's not how this goes?
No.
Oh.
She'd just say, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess I guess a panel of freaks. Ryan, you're the normal one now compared to these
This happens
two.
all the time. I feel like you've said that sentence many times in our past. Like,
you're
wow, Ryan, you're the most
normal?
normal one on this panel. Ryan, you're the most normal one on this call. It's a pretty common theme. You know?
Oh, like here's a freak, Ryan.
Pretty
Don't
reasonable
talk
guy,
about
as it turns out.
people. And it's like, holy shit, nope, that's not what it is at all. Okay, well, I don't really know what to say, huh? Okay, sweet auntie, that's really interesting. You say you have a non-sexual relationship with your husband?
No. I have a non-sexual relationship with like reality. I'm someone you would consider asexual. So it's not something that's in the purview of my mind. I don't have any lust in my eyes in any capacity. Like I'm open to it and I like it and it's fine and I'm good at it. But if I don't have it as a forefront to my value system, and so I know that's lacking in my dynamics when I'm in a relationship with someone, and so that's why I have this open-sided mindset that if that was something that they were missing is having a lustful woman in their life, I could concede and make that happen.
Well, you say lustful, but like lust technically means an inordinate sexual or disordered sexual.
I think she just means sex drive.
No, lust doesn't mean
Yeah, I have no
disordered.
sex drive.
Yeah, lust is a vice. So like
She just means
but it
feeling
doesn't mean
horny at
a
all.
woman who wants to have sex with her husband, that's not lust.
Correct.
She's
And
just
I
saying
don't
she
have
lacks
that
a desire
function.
to have sex.
I lack the desire to, and I always have. It's not my husband's fault or anyone's fault.
Oh.
It's just a portion of my character. And so I understand that in my relationship dynamics, it's been difficult for the men that are with me to have someone that doesn't have that drive. And that's why I have such an open mindset when it comes to if that were something that like a partner of mine needed to have fulfill the rest of this relationship, I would be open to considering options.
So what don't you have that someone who I would call it a more normal sex drive would have? Like, so everything fits.
I just don't have one at all. It's just not there. It's non-existent. I don't understand it.
I know people like that.
And you don't think that's a psychological issue?
Oh, it's 100% a psychological issue. And I've tried very hard to correct it, but I just can't figure out what is the best way to go about correcting it. So I understand it's a deficiency on my part or a lack of for a partner dynamic. And so if that were something that they truly needed, that's why I'm so open about it.
But that's at the core of marriage, isn't it? Sex?
Well, so we still have a healthy relationship in that regard. I just understand that it's not the same as if it was with someone that had a desire.
But how can you have a healthy sexual relationship with someone who's asexual?
Okay, so I guess healthy would be a bad terminology to utilize for that. It's a consistent thing, and it's something that's exuberant, and I'm not like a starfish or anything like that is what I mean. So there is a dynamic there where we have that kind of a relationship, but it's just not quite the same, and I know that.
But you're just sort of pretending to have a sexual drive.
Well, it's not so much pretending because I enjoy satisfying my partner. And so if that in the moment is something that they need satisfying, I get enthusiastic to do that. It's just not something that comes up in my mind as something that I also need. It's something that I look at them as it's their need that I'm fulfilling, but there is no reciprocal need that I need fulfilling. And so sometimes people need to fill that void for someone.
Oh, so you're frigid personally?
No, I'm not frigid. I'm an open-spirited person. It's just that they don't have to return the favor, so to speak, with me.
Right. But can you experience orgasms?
Correct. It's just it's not necessary.
But you can experience sexual pleasure.
Correct.
Oh, I think that's just called being female.
No, Ben, it's really not, I promise.
No. No, I'm saying females, it's not that big of a deal. They like...
No, it is a big deal for a lot of females. You don't get to see that side of females, but as a person who doesn't experience that, I see it in females a lot. Like I had friends growing up like that, oh, it's been weeks and I'm just dying over here. And it doesn't make sense to me, but I got it. I understood it.
Do you know that there's a significant number of females who can't experience an orgasm at all? Like 20.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. I at least can do that. And so it's, it's still a fulfilling activity to do. It's just not an activity that's on my radar to be done. Well, but in like a necessity point.
But very few of those women would say they're asexual, even those women. So I think that you're like...
Well, because they have the desire for it. Just because they can't get off doesn't mean they don't have the desire to do so. It's that I lack the desire to do so. I can do it and it's enjoyable. It's just not something that's a desire of mine or like a need.
Okay. I think a lot of women feel like that. Like, women not having sex is not that big of a deal as it is for men. But you're saying...
I agree with you that it's more of a constant need for a man, but I do think that a lot of women do have that need as well. It's why they make a lot of poor decisions with mating partners, because they're lusting over a guy. They always say that the bad guy, they'll give it to the first night and then they'll wait on the good guy because they want to show him that they care about him, because they do have that lust still or that need to do it.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much sexual as like women enjoy intimacy.
Correct. And I don't need intimacy because of the fact that I was raised in such a particular way where I had no parental guidance. So there was no intimacy ever given. And so none was ever needed.
You have never experienced human intimacy?
Correct. I was born without it.
I don't think that not having it means you don't need it.
Well, I was born into a situation where it was never going to be a thing.
Sure. Like you obviously grew up in a way where you didn't you found other ways to like you don't require it to like function. Yeah, sure. Yeah. But I wouldn't I guess the reason I'm reframing is because I'd be careful to suggest that like people who just don't get nurtured or whatever, that they just no, they don't need to be
some of them go on the other end where they need it to a high extreme order. I was one extreme where I went to the point where I made it so there was no longer a utility necessary in my life to create the sort of
young influential men.
You must feel lonely sometimes.
No, I definitely have a loneliness situation to myself. And it's gotten better now that I have a husband who truly cares about me and is as close to unconditionally loving me as someone ever has. But yeah, my life was very lonely.
Do you have some kind of autism?
So you don't experience intimacy with your husband?
I don't crave intimacy, but I experience it.
Well, but you just said you kind of don't have the ability to experience intimacy.
I don't have the ability to crave it, because it's like when if you're born in somewhere where there's not a lot of water, you develop the need to no longer need water as much, correct? Right? So you can still drink water and satiate yourself with water, but it's not as much of a necessity because your body formed without it.
You need water. It doesn't matter.
Well, I was just being... it was a terrible example, hypothetical. I agree. It's a terrible hypothetical. But what I'm saying is that if you are raised without something,
it sounds like maybe similar to autism. You have something like autism? Because
I have definitely like a social disorder. I would say.
But you're fairly happy.
Yeah, I'm an extremely happy person. I'm actually very grateful for the way that I was raised. There are some downsides to it, but there are so many upsides as well.
Oh, really? You're grateful that there was no intimacy in your childhood?
I'm grateful that my parents were the way they were because it created an ability in me to overcome all obstacles and to train myself to do the things I need to do without any help or guidance or reliance on others.
Oh.
Inabilities to create the connections that others do. But on the flip side, I also have an inability to be hurt like others are.
So you think
sounds
that
a lot like the armor thing that I was talking about before.
Correct.
She needs
Yep,
some
I have
training
extreme
for that.
armor.
So, but you think that parents being intimate with their children, like I'm not saying in the like, I'm saying having intimacy within a family keeps you from being successful?
No, I think it can be very beneficial, and it can also be a hindrance, and it's very nuanced because based off of not just the teachings of the parents, but those that are around them that create the human that there are. So there's a lot of variables. And I think that I just had the right mix of variables to create the ability to be as logical as I am, still being an empathetic person like I can be, even with that kind of dissociation with others. I still have an empathy source because of the variables I was given.
Okay, interesting. But and yet you're
Just like how in a family dynamic where there's like an overabundance of intimacy, the child can grow up to be not learning resilience, not learning emotional resilience because they were coddled their whole life.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that coddling is intimacy, but I know.
But I'm saying it can grow to that extreme, and then that, and on one hand, have some benefits, but then there's also a cost to it.
Yeah, oftentimes the youngest child in a big family will have trouble going out on his own because he's so used to being taken care of by multiple sort of. Everyone is.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's a common one.
They become drug addicts a lot of times, not always.
No, a lot of people that have experiences like me become drug addicts and they become reliant on substances to numb themselves. And I guess, numb myself in my character a little bit. That's why I'm a little robotic. I know your chat's kind of grilling me for being a creep and a robot. It's okay.
I think that was
Our
great.
chat is just called
Actually, you said that.
What kind of man would be content with this automaton?
No, that's funny.
No, and that's completely understandable. And a lot of men wouldn't be. And so I would understand why someone wouldn't want a relationship with me. My husband is a very quiet, stoic guy, though. So my autonomy creates kind of a peacefulness for him.
Yeah, I imagine
bonus points for using automaton.
I think people who you probably have similar, like say, personalities. So you're making the best of the situation. I don't have any problem with that. You have a problem?
Yeah,
No,
and my
I didn't
situation is
understand that.
nuanced.
I didn't
So
understand.
I mean, but you're saying it's a little unusual, or even that it's a little bit off.
yes, and
So
I would
we can
100%
found someone
agree with
else
that.
for whom that works great with. Whereas I think Mr. Justin is saying, like, where I'm trying to say, like, I think he's a freak. That he's saying, like, I'm a freak. But hey, he's got a bitch. I don't. I just got my daughter who, like, what do I get from that?
She's kind of a bitch sometimes.
Yeah, she could be a bitch. Well, I mean, I just, I don't know. What do you think of Ryan? What do you think of BDSM relationships that are like all the time? You think it's totally fine or a little bit unhealthy? Like if you're just constantly in a slave master relationship with someone, do you think that's healthy? I'm not talking about the kink.
Let's ask Ryan's Dom.
That's actually a very an extremely advanced level of it where there's a master slave that requires an immense level of trust and that takes years to develop.
But you got to admit,
I wouldn't encourage people to like jump into something like that. I'm not personally into like BDSM stuff myself, so I'm not probably not the best person to answer.
I know one master, and he's been at it for 30 years, learning this, I guess, art or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, and at the apogee of this, you become a master, which means you have other people call you like they're your slave. Is that what it
means? That Pokemon of any level will obey you.
Right.
I don't.
That's right. No, but it's just for whomever wants to take up that mantle of slave. Trusts that person so much that they hand over that much of their will.
Okay, and so, but so there's an extreme maximal difference in power between the master and the slave, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Between a dom and sub, the sub has a lot of agency. Like they can basically call the safe word about anything at any time, and everything comes to a halt. And then there's a check-in to say, hey, like, you know, what's going on? Are you feeling unsafe? Are you feeling, fearful? Or
Wouldn't
feeling
the
sick?
ideal between two people be like friendship, where there's like a mutual support, not like a maximal like kind of power differential?
Well, there is support and there is mutual support. It just doesn't look the same, and I would say they have equal value, but they go by different measurements.
Okay, let's say Grace and I had this thing where I have a loaded gun to her head all the time, where my finger is on the trigger. Now you could say like
you're always going negative.
Beautiful relationship, because she would really have to trust me, and I would have to really be deserving of her trust. But wouldn't you also say that's fucking crazy?
Well, you've got a very negative way of looking at everything.
Well, but wouldn't it be
like much of a glass half empty view of stuff?
You really think that? I mean, but like,
all of your examples are negative, fearful,
analysis.
pain involved, fear involved, negative outcome involved. All of your examples.
But why would someone want to put themselves in someone else's, a human being who's fallible, like completely in their hands? It would seem unhealthy to me.
Trust, yeah. Trust is that's
But
what
wouldn't
faith
friend
and trust is. I mean, think about it. Like you believe in invisible, like you put your faith into an invisible sky daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like to some people that might sound utterly insane.
God. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would sound utterly insane to some people.
Well, I mean, I understand. Like, if you say some people this, some people that, okay, like, well, like, God by definition is all loving, so I can trust God. But why would I treat a person like God? They're not like God.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I was drawing the comparison of putting that much faith into something that requires a leap, right? You have to take a leap. That's why it's called faith, right?
Okay.
And a lot of times trust has an element of leaping. Now, the difference with trust is that there are some measurable things, such as like consistency of someone's behavior, habits, looking at the fruits of one's efforts and things of that nature. But there's still always there's an emotional part that has to do with faith. And, not everyone's, comfortable or cut out with taking that step. And that's totally fine.
I agree. It's very hard for people to trust other people. And I would say marriage is like one of the biggest ones. It's really very difficult to do. But I would say marriage is much more difficult than whatever this 30-year master thing is doing. I mean, what the hell are these two people doing together? Is he like?
Well, I would say that it's not. It's that marriage isn't, because it's just a verbal promise. It's a promise to a church. It's a legal certificate. But what are the people's psychology doing coming into it? That's more important. Like, is there still that trust there?
With another person, you obviously you have a tremendous amount.
Maybe in that moment, but I mean, come on, you know the divorce rates. Obviously, that marriage certificate doesn't mean much.
You still have the child to raise, and you've got the other person. Like, I don't know what could compare to that. Like someone that you love very much. That you, right? I mean, but I don't understand this master of all masters. The person who's the slave can just go like, dude, what the fuck off, right? And it's over. Like there's nothing actually. There's nothing actually.
At that point, I would think. I mean, I don't know, because I've not done that or created that, but I would imagine that it would require something pretty extreme, like a massive violation of trust, in order for that to happen.
No, but I'm saying the other person could just say, dude, stop calling me, and it's over. And why are you?
Well, that's a nice graph.
Level.
That's a nice graph.
Yeah, I was just wondering, just to keep the chat engaged, and just it's a terminology of this kind of stuff.
He's a yellow top, right, Mr. Justin? He's a yellow top.
No, he's a dominant sadist.
Oh, you're a sadist?
Yeah. I'm in the top right, the classic dom.
Oh, you like to cause pain?
Ow.
No, but that would say that is like the one area that I would say a classic dom, but no, I'm not sitting here saying I like to cause pain.
Well, it says sadist.
But I don't fit with any of the other things here though. Most guys are yellow bottoms though.
Likes to receive sensations from partner. I would say, yeah, I kind of loosely fit that. I'm a vanilla bottom.
I think I'm somewhere between yellow, red top.
Yellow and the red top. Oh, you like to give sensations to partner?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But
You're a
no,
submissive
quote,
sadist?
power play.
Likes to give sensation as instructed.
Yeah, I like when people communicate to me like what they like. It's like, oh, like to the left, shit like that. Like I'm into that. Yeah.
Radical bottom. I'm sorry.
You're somewhat sadistic. You like to cause other people. Why? You spent months yelling at me that I'm like a bad person. A sadist is like the definition of a bad person.
I don't think the word sadist here is being used in the way that you're kind of identifying it to. But I don't think I ever screamed at you for being a bad person. I think I just criticized you for various things and
whatever.
get emotional about it.
You scolded me for being a bad person.
I know you felt that way. That's your daddy issues.
It's my bottom coming out.
Yeah, this is good. Top, bottom. Like, so top is the one who delivers the action. The bottom is the receiver. And the dom is the one who gives the instruction. The sub is the one who follows the instruction. So you could have a dominant bottom where the bottom is in giving instructions. So like the woman is like, fuck me, like bend me over and fuck me. That's a version of a dominant bottom.
Mix it up.
I'm not sure why it looks like a preschool
It looks like
poster.
a kid. Remember?
Yeah. It kind of like reminds you of like the are you choking posters that you see in restaurants.
I see what he's saying. Dom and sub is psychological. Top and bottom is physical. Okay. I just think most people in their heads just associate when you say dom and sub associated with sex, but I guess it actually is different.
No, you can have a non-sexual dom sub.
Yeah.
No, because if you look at the acronym BDSM, there's nothing in there that mentions sex at all.
Right.
Bondage, domination,
sadomasochism. Yeah.
Dominant submission, sadism, masochism, bondage. Yep. Discipline. Like none of it is having anything to do with sex. Actually, I've got like a former student of mine. He's actually he can't. Maybe he would if he could, but I mean he has 3 submissives that answer to him, and he's paralyzed from the waist down. So he's not having sex at all, but they're like completely devoted to him.
I mean,
I
I
get their
guess
sexual pleasure elsewhere, I guess.
but it's all of it has to do with power.
Right. Yeah. But it's not taking of power, it's relinquishing of power.
And I think relationships that are based on power are like shallow relationships.
I would say that most vanilla relationships are quite shallow because they're all like transactional. They're like, oh, if you do this, I'll do that. You know, the whole hypergamy thing, it's all just like scraping the surface. Never really gets to the core of the individuals that are involved.
But you think the core is power?
No, I'm just saying just in general that, most people don't really get to know the person that they're with. Just that's typically the case.
Oh, and you think BDSM helps them to really understand, like, break
That's
through it?
one pathway. That's one pathway.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't.
Well,
found
that's a weird layout.
Oh, great!
Here are your elbows.
Auntie's gone.
I found in my own life, and I know I'm going to ask Grace not to pay attention to this, but like at a certain point in my relationship with her mother, she wanted to do a lot of BDSM, and it was like that was when it was really going off the rails, and very shortly thereafter, it crashed completely.
Oh, she's back.
But I didn't find that to be helpful. I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a crashing relationship, nothing's going to save it.
Yeah,
true.
So
except maybe like an ayahuasca retreat or like heavy amounts of cambo or LSD.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people who do the ayahuasca are also usually like they're lost, they're gone.
Oh yeah.
Out. And so like these things that people like, because you wouldn't engage in this unless there was some like sort of massive problem, right?
What I don't really know what ayahuasca is.
Yeah, it's like
Mushrooms?
LSD or something. Yeah, it's like
Ayahuasca.
It's an extreme visual trip. It's a reset
Yeah.
for someone that's lost. I agree with you. Someone who's looking for that kind of a reset is so far beyond fixing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you think BDSM can be helpful with people like this?
Oh,
In a
yeah.
rela-
It's actually like a lot of psychologists are encouraging it and including it into their practices. Yeah, absolutely. A lot more studies are being done about it. Yeah, it's no longer like this fringe, like weird thing because it's actually being studied because it's coming more up into the mainstream.
I could honestly see that being true. A lot of people are lost. I could see it.
But isn't just like a job, like an employer-employee, isn't that kind of a power relationship? It's raw power, right?
Yeah, but I don't understand how that relates to what I just said about psychology.
Well, but I mean, if
Doesn't.
so, is that good for people to have those kind of relationships?
I'd say that you're being extremely reductionist.
I think that part of the benefits of the BDSM dynamics is that you get to kind of navigate like communication between like the trade-offs between like yielding power and gaining power and stuff like this. And in a workplace, you kind of don't necessarily get that. You just kind of do what you have to do and what you're told, right?
Yeah, like I mean,
Yeah,
I think
there's zero
there's
input, zero negotiation.
a lot of bosses. Oh, okay, yeah, a lot of bosses I think become subs on the weekend, and maybe a lot of like demeaned employees act like a tough guy on the weekend, right? Like to compensate for the power reversal. But what I'm saying is, if you negotiate it, then it's not really the real thing, isn't it?
Well, it depends because it's like
you're not really very submissive. If you say like I'm going to be exactly this submissive and no further, like that's not really submission.
it depends because everybody has their limits, don't they?
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Well, what Ben's saying is that like a true submissive wouldn't care about their limits being passed, and a real dom wouldn't care about surpassing those limits. But I think that
I would say that was a result of a well-developed over time master-slave relationship.
Yeah,
when I went to jail,
and we're talking years.
That's very similar to a form of BDSM. I mean, I was forced to like bend over, have my anus searched, all this kind of stuff. And I didn't really mind it that much, but that was involuntary. So that's much more real than if I hired people to do like, or you know what I mean? If I went to some if I negotiated that with someone and they're like, okay, I'll be the jailer, you be the guy in jail, and we have a whole little dungeon set up. It just seems like a lightweight version of it.
Possibly. I mean, it's hard to say like what's going on inside their heads. You can't make blanket statements of like, oh, everybody who does this means this. It's just not that. It's not that simple. It's not that reductionist.
Well, but the whole point of like, I don't understand it. Some women will say like, oh, I like to be choked, right? So, but if they say they like to be, and then you do it, they're not really. It's
not really what.
You're talking about a full loss of control versus a given loss.
Yeah, I'm saying like a lot of fantasies that women have are about a loss of control.
Yeah.
But if you negotiate ahead of time that we're going to,
yes, you're absolutely right. And now you're seeing some of the nuances because if say like I'm with a lady and she goes, I like being choked, and then I go and do that, I'm now following her whims.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So then now the question is, well, who's then in control? Right.
She
also, like, so like, for example, like there's like brat and brat tamer relationships where they're like the girl's like a purposeful little shit. And then the guy, he's got that mentality where he likes to deal with that. He likes to manage it, punish it, get it back in line, that sort of thing. It's called the brat and brat tamer relationship. Now, she could be like, I like being put in my place and I like it when I get spanked for doing wrong things. So I'm going to purposely do something wrong. He's going to see that and go, now I've got a decision to make because she broke one of these rules and is purposely acting up so that I will spank her. If I spank her, I'm going to be giving her exactly what she's going for. So if I do that, she's then in control. So how do I handle the situation? Do I spank her or do I give her another punishment that actually shows her that she's done something wrong and she needs to stop acting this way?
Right.
At least for this moment. Right. It's not confusing, but it's just something that has to be considered if that's the sort of thing you're into.
Here's a weird thing that I've seen happen to a lot with Grace. With her Zoomer buddies. They have humiliation fetishes. So, like, they're rewarded by her saying like, you suck, you're an F slur. Like they actually enjoy that. You see what I mean? Whereas for her, they'll pretend they want to get with her, but then she comes to find out that they actually want to get rejected by her, right?
They're really in love with you, Ben, most likely.
Yeah, yes, they end up right a lot of times going in my direction, and she's like, "What?" Yeah. So
I would say that's true.
Like there are guys who want to get punched in the face by masculine men, right? It used to be that a lot of
fetishes and kinks everywhere.
A lot of transgender people, like there was a guy, something Crisp. He said the reason I go out dressed like a woman is to get punched in the face by like masculine men. I don't think it's any longer like that.
People, you say a lot of I don't think a lot of transgender people want to get punched in the face when they're going out.
I actually think. Well, what about a trend? There used to be. It's not so much now, but I mean, back in the day, there were a fair number of transgender women who really presented themselves as women and didn't kind of say like I'm transgender until it was
the interruption, Ben.
And then they were
interruption. I got to get out of here.
Okay, yeah.
Got a client. Yeah, client's calling me, so I've got to get to him. But thanks for the chat.
I thought you were in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Answer the call, boy.
I'm sorry, I'm late.
I gotta go. Yep. Gotta go. Talk to you later, guys.
Justin.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, you've had this.
Ben, are you going to take his course?
Yeah, absolutely. Except I'm going to make him pay.
You graduated already, then.
Grace had this thing where there was a guy who was like, "Call me an F slur. I promise you, I'll give you money." Right? And then he, like the next week, he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't have any money this week." And she's like, "You effing right." And then he got pissed.
No, I yelled at him. I was like, "Walk to the ATM and you're fucking
get me some money."
Naked,
he's like,
"You fucking loser." And he's like, "No, actually, I don't have money. No, it's not a game anymore."
No, and then he
I
just
was
stopped giving her money, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you." And he's like, "Okay, I guess we'll start again." But like,
I was like, "Well, how am I supposed to know that I'm supposed to?"
You need to have
off?
a third person to like, I don't know, keep score. And it's like, okay, she's still pissed at you and thinks you're an F slur, but I get how you literally don't have any money.
Yeah.
So I'll let her know. It's weird though.
We needed a safe word.
It's weird though. Do you think a lot of Zoomer guys are basically sort of like bottoms to women and feel comfortable with that? Because I think they do.
A lot of men are.
I think a lot of men are. Yeah. And so they like the situation. And what about this? Do you agree with me? Speaking of the Andrew Wilson thing, I'm not going to say this about him, but I'm homophobic in two senses. One, like if I saw two guys having butt sex, I'd be like, that's gross. Even though if I saw two heterosexuals having sex, I would still say like that's inappropriate. But like the butt sex would be like, ugh. Okay. But I don't think I'm excessively homo. I think that's like normally homophobic.
I think we talked about this a long time ago, and the thing we disagreed about was that you thought it was like should be encouraged that like your sons would like think it was gross to like see young men or to see like two men kissing in public or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be grossed out as in like you empathize and you imagine like I don't want to be that guy. Like that's how I feel. I don't want to kiss that guy because I'm not attracted to men. But there's also something like that's kind of like sweet about seeing people who previously like would have been like physically assaulted and sometimes are still physically assaulted for like kissing in public.
Usually by
like
each other. Usually by each other though.
Well, not as much. I mean, I was actually some guy like a few months ago actually just like tried to throw me in a river because he thought I was gay. Like he just saw me, like, and I'm as a gay passing straight man. He was just like this guy was having an.
I'm gay passing too. I was in West Hollywood, which a few weeks ago, which is a super gay area. I mean, it is like the gay area. And I had my shirt open because I had a shirt that didn't fit. And I walked by a gay dude, and he put his hand on my belly and then grazed my dick on the way down, which I felt like, well. I mean, I'm in a gay area, so it's fine. But so I was there for about an hour, and like I thought it was like, I'm in a gay area, so I'm not going to be like, "Ooh, this is gross." Like I knew what it was, but afterwards, like it's kind of like to me, like gross. You know what I mean? I think that's okay, right? It's like
you can feel like it's like gross. Again, I think it's when I think it gross, I'm imagining, at least in the I don't want to do it, right? It's gross to me. Like I don't want to be a part of it, but I don't like feel disgusted by like other people doing it in that same, you know.
But I would feel like it's just kind of gross. It's just like I'd rather not see it. If I'm
do you feel that way just about anybody kissing in public?
No, I'm just talking about all the gay stuff, the AIDS and all that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
like AIDS is. I agree. AIDS is gross. I guess. I mean, I'm sure that people with AIDS especially think that it's upsetting and gross that they have AIDS. Yeah,
a lot of stuff that goes on in gay clubs, I think, is gross. So, anyways,
I mean, I've been in a lot of gay clubs, and really, it's not that much different from.
Well, in the
it's
back,
a little bit more like welcoming.
Well, whatever. Okay, I was with a guy, Grace's friend, who
congratulations, Ben.
He well, so I took him there because we were going out together, and I was like, let's go to the gay bars, because I think he's like a right winger who says I'm not gay, but has a lot of, like, I would say, traits, you know. And he freaked out for like 6 hours afterwards, and I was like, dude, I think you have some of these issues because you freaked out. For me, it was like, well, you know, it's about what a gay place would be like. It's not like keeping me up at night. But anyways, I think there is like my real homophobia is the closeted gay guys on the right. I mean, I really hate them, and I would call them F slurs, and I did call him that in a pejorative sense, because, you know, it's just like, just be gay. It's like I prefer an openly gay guy who would say, like, I've had guys say to me, like, I'd love to suck your dick. And it's like, okay, like, but if I say, like, I'm straight, then they leave me alone. Okay. And it's like, okay, I get it. You're shooting your shot. You just like, I'm just not there. All right. But a guy who's like, just won't admit that you know what I mean? Like a self-loathing gay who spends all of his time like berating homosexuals.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of these people like in the GOP
kind of person.
I think there's a lot of these people in the GOP and like Republican people in general who are really, really anti-gay. They are a lot of the people who push like these staunch anti-gay laws, and these are the people who end up also oftentimes like being caught in gay scandals and stuff. And I think it's very common. And so I've actually in conversations recently when people because you know people love to do this, like, is it moral to be gay? Like they like to have these conversations, and I think it's a very stupid conversation. But what I usually start asking them is like, well, look, are you not gay because you think it's immoral, or are you not gay because you're not attracted to men? Like, because there's a big difference, right? Like, I'm not gay because I'm not attracted to men, and people seem to really evade this question. And I think when they do, it's very I think the word is sus, as the Zoomers would say. I think it's sus.
Yeah, why would you be angry at gay men? Because it would seem to be angry as like they're getting away with something that you wish you could get away with too. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't want to have.
Absolutely, they're envious of men. I think
that sounds brutal. That's like the last thing that I would want to do. And I don't think you would say there's anything wrong with saying, like, yeah, you don't want to have butt sex. Like, that's totally normal.
I don't like giving butt sex. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, why would you be so angry at them? And then you get into like the Pulse nightclub kind of guy, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, I see why you're angry, because you're mad at yourself, but you're taking it out on these poor people. It's like, if you don't want to be gay and you hate yourself, like, maybe just take yourself out. But like, why are you taking all these other people? That's horrendous, right? It's the worst kind of thing. And
obviously that's horrible. Yeah,
I don't think I was encouraging. So I mean, if you say I'm homophobic, you'd have to put me on a spectrum, because I was encouraging this guy to say, like, you should really explore whether maybe you do have some of these feelings. And it's much better to explore that in a positive way than to try to just say no, and be, you know what I mean, be kind of weirdly obsessed by it. So I'm homophilic in that sense. Like, I do think that if you have
a much more tolerable homophobia, Ben, I think that I would much prefer your homophobia to the kind that's like trying to or like Andrew Wilson, even, I think, who thinks that like all sodomy should be illegal and stuff.
He, I think, is one of those guys who's got more issues in that area than he'd like to let on, because he's so
consumed. I know he can't open a jar, but Andrew's been. Yeah.
Well, there's
He's
a
giving me
certain type
tooth,
of
but I shit on him still. But he's supposed to be giving me a new tooth, so I'm gonna stay on his good graces a little bit.
well, there's a type of homosexuality. There was a lot of homosexuality within the Nazi Party, which I would assume would be like the furthest away from you. But there was a lot of it because a certain hyper masculine type of man would like prefer everything with dudes. You know what I mean? Like just doesn't like women. Misogyny.
Yeah, I actually have this
kind of
theory.
homosexuality.
Like when I used to actually say this about Pearl Davis. Like I'm wondering if like Pearl Davis is like a lesbian who like really like she wants like as many men as possible to be super undesirable to women so that there's more women for her to select from. And I think that there's a lot of men like these people who do like the whatever podcast and stuff who do this constant rage bait. That's like all they do is like, men, can you believe this? Like look at this like 5-second TikTok of this woman saying something cringe, and it's. I think there is something to that. These guys, they want to foster a space where men feel much safer talking to them, and I think it's definitely predatory either way. But it could also be a little bit homoerotic, perhaps.
Well,
shrinking the pool of
misogyny. If you say women are so awful, then
competition.
Like, okay, well, like, wouldn't you just want to do everything with dudes, including have sex?
Why not kiss the homies goodnight, right?
Yeah, bros before hoes. At a certain point, it's just bros.
Have you guys ever seen this? Wait, have you ever seen this? This got wiped off the internet, but this is Andrew Wilson's how to tell if you're gay video. Have you ever seen this?
Is funny.
Have you ever seen this, Ryan? Watch this. It's me reacting to it with my brother like 2 years ago, but I'll try to just find the actual video parts.
Here's our evidence. 1. If you are a male and you suck dick, you are gay.
He tried so hard to wipe that off the internet. And I am bringing it fucking back.
Wait, I feel like he still says this. Why is he trying to wipe off the internet? That's still his opinion. Like he still says that.
No, but the way it's presented is just
like, how is this contributing?
That speaks to like what I'm saying. Like it's not that like you're sucking a dick; it's that you're attracted to men. I mean, sucking a dick also obviously is like that's like something that comes generally from being attracted to men,
right?
Like you get to that point after being attracted to men. But like I don't think it's the moment that you start sucking the dick, you don't become gay. I think you were gay like way leading up to that. Like probably gay when you guys start making out. Like like
right.
I mean, honestly, this is not even a really good description. You can like
in
prison, you can suck a dick or have sex. It doesn't mean you're gay.
That's true as
not
well.
necessarily mean you're gay, but whatever.
But wait, he's not really trying. Like everyone knows that this is how
right, which is why I'm curious as to what is the point of the video.
Yeah.
Well, I just it's just
sucks your dick if you are a male and another male sucks your dick, you are gay. If you are a male and you have sex with another male, you're gay.
It's so bizarre. It just indicates a certain like obsession, I would say, or
like everyone knows those things. How would you need a whiteboard and like make a video about it?
Andrew's thoughts while sucking dick.
He finally worked
He said
it out.
if they're sucking yours, so I don't know. Does it mean if he's doing theirs?
He said both. He said both sides. He said it the inverse as well.
Oh, he did.
Oh, did he? Okay.
To be fair to Andrew,
I saw
think
the
he
sex
listed
with
both
men,
sides,
but I didn't see the inverse of the sucking.
There was 3 qualifiers, I think.
All right, but we should add a fourth one. Someone said in the chat from earlier reference being thrown in a river. You are also gay.
Yeah, I guess. To be fair, I didn't actually get thrown in the river because I was like, "Hey, get the
trying
fuck
to be
off me."
thrown in the river. You are gay.
Yeah,
But
if somebody looks at you while they're having a manic episode,
but you were using that as an illustration of homophobic violence. But you're not gay.
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
using that as an illustration of homophobic violence, how it hasn't gone away. But you weren't.
But I mean, the guy was screaming like homophobic slurs and like right before. So yeah, I'm not saying that like he saw me and he was like, "You fuck man, I'm gonna." It was like he was howling these slurs, and then he saw me walking, and he called me those like one of those slurs, and then tried to grab me. And
Yeah, but a lot of times guys will use those slurs when they don't really mean like.
No, the full. I don't remember the exact like all the full sentences he was saying, but it was definitely he was. Oh, he was like yelling about men holding hands and stuff.
Was it Andrew?
Which it wasn't Andrew. Believe it or not.
You suck dick. You kiss men. I'm
That's a
throwing
pretty good
you
impression.
in the river.
Not bad, actually.
It's funny.
Oh, Grace, are you jealous? Andrew's been going on Steven Crowder's show.
I know, man.
How does
He
Andrew
blew the fuck up.
How does Andrew Wilson reach the heights? He's on Piers Morgan.
I know. I could be there pretty soon, you guys. You know, you guys always.
You could. You're a very interesting person, but you have to be like, I guess, a stereotype. See, the reason
very feisty.
The reason
I am very feisty.
You're feisty, but I think the reason you don't like because you're not like a stereotype, like because you're left of center, like you're pro gay, but you're not gay yourself. So like I think you have to be this kind of just like stereotype, like Andrew Wilson. Like I'm an asshole Christian,
not radical enough in one direction.
Yeah, you got to be this.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I only just started like showing up on panels and streaming again, and in the past month, I've grown like pretty fast. So we'll see.
Yeah,
you know what would be an interesting video for you two to react to was that Piers Morgan, what was it? Atheists who are on the Jordan Peterson surrounded thing versus Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, that's true.
And Jay Dyer, because you're supposedly on Andrew Wilson and Jay Dyer's side, and he would be on the leftist side.
No, but he's not an atheist, is he?
No, I don't know. Yes. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by that? I mean, like, yeah, I'd say so. Probably. I'm kind of anti-theist even.
Oh, okay, but you
I'm like vaguely spiritual now. I think I would say, you know, like.
But you don't do those debates, do you?
What?
You don't like do atheist debates.
Oh no, I don't care about debating like whether or not there's a God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I care about debating like people who want to use God to like impose things on people. I think that's fucked up.
That Piers Morgan show wasn't specifically about Christianity. You remember it was like the leftists were saying like I think the word retarded is offensive.
It was the two guys who went viral on the Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them. What was it? Who was it? Was it Parker and someone else?
Yeah.
It was definitely Parker.
I actually think I could have an interesting conversation with those guys because I think philosophically they were correct.
They'd be worried about getting canceled.
I don't know. I think
we're gonna beat those allegations, Ryan. We're gonna clean up our act.
It's not like it used to be.
Yeah. Really?
It actually has gotten a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you said the N-word, Grace.
This was a very pleasant conversation, I think.
Yesterday. I have the past. That was never the problem. That people, I think I'm racist.
Oh, you think that the problem was that we used the N-word?
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't like it.
I'm sure it didn't help the problem, but
yeah, exactly. It's more of a symptom of
it helped with blacks. Yeah. They liked it. They generally were like
some of them probably do.
You're the one who wrote a math song about how black people need to sing to learn math. You're the
all the fresh radical coder lore. No, I didn't write a song about black kids or whatever.
No,
I did do a vector rap, but it wasn't for black kids. It was
you wrote
a
rap about math for urban learners.
No. You're mixing up stories. Okay, I wrote a vector rap.
Hey, in school,
which had a microaggression in it, by the way, because I was 17, and then later on, I ended up I did a lot of teaching and stuff later on, and then eventually I had that debate with Destiny about the math book.
Yeah,
but you're mixing up a bunch of different lore. Yeah.
Your gift as a streamer, from what I saw, was how responsive to chat. Like you were like tops I think I've ever seen.
It was fun.
Which I know you can only do up to a certain point when the chat gets going so fast. But like you were, I think right of center people loved trolling you through the chat, including myself. I'll admit it.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys were always in there. Yeah, I'm actually. I was wondering, you guys must have unsubscribed because I haven't seen you. I was waiting for the Thorpes to.
I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah. Remember when I got you to say that you would prefer to suck Destiny's dick over
over Sneakos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, my argument was, I wouldn't want to do either, but you're putting a gun to my head, and my thought was that that Destiny might respect my boundaries more, but now I'm not really so sure. So
That's true.
you know.
That's true. You would have been on the. You would have been on the drop.
You could have made
Each
50
well.
or whatever.
Are you anti-Destiny as far as that goes?
I don't watch him anymore. It just hits different, I think.
But I mean the Pixie thing specifically.
I mean, like, obviously, like it was like not cool what he did from everything I understand. And I like it's also weird because I've met like a lot of these people, and so it feels it's very strange. But I can't really watch him anymore. It's not because I think he's like a piece of shit or something. Like, I mean, it did a bad thing, but like lots of people do bad things. The president of the United States right now sexually assaulted a woman in a dressing room. So, we got to deal with people who do bad things. What?
That crazy lady? You really think he like?
He was found civilly liable for sexually abusing her. Yeah.
Yeah, but wasn't that because he didn't want to fight it?
No, that's not why. No. And the jury found that he when he was like saying that it never happened and talking shit about her, that was defamation because it did happen.
It did happen, but it was kind of like consensual, I think, but whatever.
It doesn't sound like it. But in fact, like the judge himself, like, because like Trump tried to sue media outlets who called it quote unquote rape, right? And I think that he like the judge actually from that case like has come out separately and said that like I would characterize what happened absolutely as a kind of like digital rape, because digital with fingers, right?
Oh, that's an interesting take on digital. Yeah,
Old take on digital.
Digital. All right.
Well, it's almost 4 p.m., guys. We got to grab some late lunch or
Really
dinner
nice
or whatever.
to see both
But
of
it
you.
was
Thanks
nice to
for talking.
Nice to see you again, Ryan.
Great time.
Hit me up on
Yeah,
Discord or
take care, guys.
something.
We have not been away because we didn't realize.
Well, we've been off YouTube for a while.
Oh, that's true. We're kicking.
That's right. You guys have been on Kick, right? Yeah. I pop in occasionally and see what you guys are up to, but usually I turn away pretty fast. No offense, but
I don't think we're that. I don't think you find us very offensive what we do.
But I've been doing fun stuff. I did like a 2-hour debate with Rob Noor last night, one-on-one. Like I'm telling you, we're making.
Rob Noor actually has some clout now, which is I never would have guessed, but he does have some clout. What did you argue? What did you argue?
We were arguing about a specific claim that he made about Hillary Clinton's team colluding with a Russian spy, a suspected Russian spy, and I was saying that various parts of that were nefarious. Although Rob is a very, very skilled communicator and debater, and I don't know. I don't think I came out on top, but as for the substance of it, I still actually feel pretty good about my case. But it is what it is. Fun. You win some, you lose some. Anyway, it was good seeing you guys. I'm gonna bounce off.
Bye, sweet tea.
Bye, guys. Thank you to everybody in chat on YouTube and Kick who was watching. We had about 110 viewers total. And that was
oh, you streamed it on Kick too?
Yeah, it was multi-streaming.
And I couldn't do that.
StreamYard added Kick as a destination now, so it's not a custom RMTP or whatever. That was fun. It was funny. Mr. Justin was a treat. I'm glad we got him over here.
Wow. I was like, it was funny. It went in directions I didn't think it was going to.
Is there anyone we can raid? You want to raid Chaotic Truth live for old time's sake?
Yeah, might as well.
All right. Hold on a second. Guys, my tooth is crazy hurting. It's brutal. I need like some beer. I've had 5 of these. 5 ibuprofen. It's not good. It's shooting into my skull. Awful. All right, let's redirect.
Mind over matter.
I tried. Oh, should we send it to John Galt?
One of these?
Guess we'll give him to John Galt. Yeah. Popping bottles in the ice. Like a blizzard.
I'm like the cool kids now. Yo,
is it swollen? It's my wisdom tooth. It's growing in. Definitely, that's what's going on. And the entire gum and the lymph node and everything is inflamed.
Take them all at once. Yeah, what's a dentist gonna do?
I already went. I had him X-ray my teeth. He was like, "They're gonna grow in fine. You don't need surgery, so it's just pain."
Grace,
Anyways,
end it.
bye.